She erased us from her wedding, so I'm erasing her from mine. When my brother got married, his bride, now my sister-in-law, had very specific expectations. She wanted everyone in the family to wear their wedding colors, and we all did. People flew in from out of state. Everyone made an effort to make her feel celebrated. The day before the wedding, she made some offhanded but clearly pointed remarks about how our side of the family never takes anything seriously, and she wasn't expecting us to take this seriously either. The comments made their rounds, and feelings were hurt before the wedding even began. But we still showed up, looked great, and participated fast forward to getting the wedding photos and video. Not a single photo of our side of the family was posted. Not one in the entire 3-minute highlight reel. No faces from our family, except a 3-second clip of my parents with the bride and groom, the rest of us? It's like we never existed. I texted her cordially and asked if she could send me the pictures with just our siblings. Since none had been posted, she responded that we never took those pictures. That's wild because I remember helping people adjust corsages for them. She doubled down on the gaslighting. I gave it 6 months and asked again. She suddenly had no idea what I was talking about. Fine. Here's where the petty revenge comes in. I'm getting married in 8 days. I've been engaged for 6 months and planning this moment since she tried to erase us. I hired a great photographer and videographer. What she doesn't know is that the videographer has a secret mission. Make it look like she's getting all the attention, track her, hover near her like she's the star of the show. She will feel so seen. And then, the final cut, she won't appear for even 1 second. Just like she made sure we didn't. I didn't even invite her originally. Word must have gotten out because she cornered me at a family dinner and said, "Unfortunately, I have to work the day before and after your wedding, but I should still be able to make it." I was so stunned I just said, "That's fine. The Airbnb is booked whether you're there or not." So now she's coming, to cope? I spelled her name wrong on the wedding invite on purpose. That was my first move. The video blackout will be my last. Not asking for advice. Not asking if it's too mean. It's not. It's exactly fair. Happy to finally talk about it freely. Relevant. Comments. Commenter? 1. Actually, you can just instruct the photographer to take unglamorous photographs of her, like her eyes are closed or weird facial expressions, and just posted it on social media. If she complains, you can just tell her, "Well, at least everyone is in my wedding photos." Commenter. 2. No shooter would risk their career for that. Reply, not asking him to do anything different other than just, don't put her in the video. He's still taking amazing footage and does a phenomenal job. This won't hurt him, but I will ask his opinion if it would make you guys feel better. Commenter. 3. She lives in your head rent-free. Just forgive her and keep it pushing. Is your wedding about you and tour partner celebrating your marriage, or getting some weird revenge on your family member? Honestly, I love petty shit, but this sucks. Reply, just a side quest. The rent-free is right, and it will stop now, not me thinking, no one would give a shit about this, and y'all are so good about calling me out where I need to heal. I'll work on that. Commenter 4. Meh. Don't worry about it. You will have enough to do at the wedding without tracking drama. Your response will change nothing about the broken sill. Reply, this is easily my favorite comment out of all 3K of them. I do have enough to do. I got it off my chest talking about it, but I'm ready to not think about it again. Thank you. Nothing I could do would change how she is as a person, and that actually has nothing to do with me, so I really ought to not make it as big of a deal. Commenter 5. Update once you followed through. Also, congratulations to your marriage. Hopefully you guys can live happily without her. Reply, thank goodness we're in opposite ends of our state with hours in between. She's never on my mind and not involved in my life, but I was pretty hurt. At her wedding, I guess enough to remember it. 5 years later, she'll be at the wedding. Not treated differently, and I won't be focused on her at all. This was just a side quest, not a main goal. I was a little bit dramatic last night while posting this. Haha. Update. The wedding was absolutely beautiful, and I didn't have to think about this all day. We've been living on the love high that comes with the wedding, and forgot about anything until YouTube remakes reminded me. Our videographer was given verbal instructions beforehand, and made sure to know who SIL was as our sneak peek clips have been given back to us. I have yet to see her in any of the footage. Our videographer told us they had over 200 GB of raw footage, so SEIL will definitely be in some footage on a hard drive somewhere. But she definitely will not end up on any of our Instagram highlights. We'll see about the final video. I definitely didn't think this would blow up like it did. Originally, I only shared this with 3 girls in book club. Thank you all for coming on this petty revenge journey with me. There's no idea how Reddit updates work for those who care. Trying to figure out if editing the OG post is the way. Should I put my final update on a new post? Let me know. I don't want to leave you all hanging on this. Stories number 2. Aita, for refusing to let my half-sister see my, not her mom before she dies, and telling dad he'll have to explain why to her before he loses her too. My dad cheated on my mom, and my half-sister 11 is the result of his cheating. When my mom found out, she left my dad and filed for divorce. It was a really difficult time because dad tried to get back with mom using me, and he expected them to raise the 2 of us together, and we'd be one happy family where mom got left raising the affair baby as her own. Instead, he raised her on his own, because her mom left her with dad once she was 2 months old. From the time she could talk, my dad was telling my half-sister my mom was hers. He had her calling mom mama when she was learning how to talk. He'd talk about her like she was our mom and not mine. Dad would punish me for telling him to stop. He told me she was my sister, and I loved her, so I should want mom to love her too. And then we'd fight because I told him I didn't love her, and he was making things so much harder for me. I hated being at dad's house because of his obsession with mom being my half-sister's mom. Things got worse when my half-sister got older, and she tried to seek mom out. She wanted hugs and love, and my mom lost it with my dad a number of times because she didn't want anything to do with my half-sister, and she was repulsed by the idea of my half-sister calling her Mama Mom. Eventually, mom got primary custody of me, and I only had to see dad for a few hours a month. I could tell my half-sister was confused by it all, but I never felt protective over her, and I never blamed my mom for wanting nothing to do with her. She made sure she saw her as little as possible, so she wouldn't have her trying to interact or look for hugs and stuff. Things got worse 2 years ago when dad ended up in the hospital for over a month, and my half-sister went into foster care. Dad wanted mom to take her, and mom told him to fuck off. My half-sister didn't understand why she wasn't with me and mom when dad was sick. It was a whole thing, and dad tried to make me responsible for my half-sister, but I refused to be. Dad's health has never fully recovered, and I refused to help. And so did my mom. Now she's terminally ill and spending her last weeks in the hospital, which is already freaking hard. But my dad told my half-sister she could visit, but mom and me made sure they could get nowhere near mom. But that hasn't stopped dad from showing up with my half-sister, and her getting upset because she know mom's dying. Mom wouldn't even know now, but I refuse to disrespect her like that, so I warned dad a couple of days ago that he'll lose her, like he lost me if he doesn't find a way to tell her the truth and explain why she can't see mom. He asked me why I have to be so hateful to her, and why I couldn't allow her this one small thing. Then he brought up how his illness is still a thing, and he could be dead before mom or even a year from now, and would. I really want this to be how my half-sister is treated. He tried to bring up what would happen to her, but I told him my only concern is my mom, and he needs to do better. He said I was evil, and my half-sister never held any responsibility in any of this, and he continues to show up with her. Comments. Commenter 1. He asked me why I have to be so hateful to her, and why I couldn't allow her this one small thing. The hateful person is the one who lied to their own child for all of her life. He lied because the truth is that he had an affair with somebody who abandoned their child. His lie makes him look better, and OP's mom look bad. Reply. And continuing to lie now, knowing it's only going to hurt more. But like I warned him, he lost me already and he risks losing her. Maybe he wants that. Maybe it would be easier for him. He's only showing why he was capable of being so awful in the first place. Commenter 2. It looks like he tries to erase his affair every time he acted like your mom is half-sister's mom. This all has to do with his consciousness and guilt. NTA. Reply. That's what I was thinking. But I also wonder if some of it is because he was still hoping mom would love him and get back with him even after all. This time, commenter 3. Your dad is psychotic. I feel so sorry for you and your sister after he dies, and she goes back into foster care. You should tell her caseworker to get her therapy, and tell the caseworker the truth about her parents, so that the therapist can tell her this girl needs to know the truth. You and your mom have done nothing wrong, but your dad is a narcissist. Commenter 4. Your dad is a horrible person. He knew how your mom felt and knew she would never accept your stepsister, and he still used her to try and get back with her, with no regard for anyone's feelings. It would probably hurt your stepsister more in the long run if you let her your mom in this state. Please hold your ground, and I'm so sorry for what you are going through. Reply, thank you. I know the experience would not be what she's looking for. My dad knows too, but he's still trying to cover his lies and make them something they're not. Stories number 3. Everyone thinks I caught our office lunch thief. I didn't. I started packing them a meal on purpose. We've had a lunch thief at work for months. Stuff disappears from the break room fridge between 12:15 and 12:30 like clockwork. At first I was furious. My glass container kept coming back greasy or not at all. One day I got in early and saw someone I don't know well, new temp, standing with the fridge open, just staring. He closed it and walked out with nothing. He looked wrecked, like he'd been crying in his car. That image would not leave my head. The next week I started bringing 2 lunches, one in my usual container, and a second in a cheap grocery store. Plastic box with a sticky note that just says, "For whoever forgot." I put it in the back left corner where the thief always strikes. The theft stopped being random and started being predictable. The container is always returned rinsed. Sometimes there's a folded paper towel under the box, like he's trying to be neat. Last Friday there was a single peppermint left on top. Dumb little detail, but it got me. Coworkers think I set up cameras or confronted someone because my real lunch stopped going missing. I didn't. I just redirected the problem. It's not heroic. It's probably enabling. But I can afford rice and chicken more than someone can afford being hungry at work. I'm not asking for a medal. I'm confessing that I was angrier than I want to admit, and now I'm weirdly protective of a stranger who eats at 12:20. If management installs cameras, I won't stop them. Until then, I'll keep packing 2. Comments. Commenter 1. I think sometimes if we make up a story in our heads, that's nicer than reality. And no one loses because of it, except for giving up something they're happy to give up. The world might be a slightly better place. This is a nice thing to read. Commenter 2. When I was 20 years old, pregnant and married to a horrible man, I worked in an office Monday through Saturday. On Saturdays, someone would make a breakfast run and take everyone's order. I always had a reason not to order. The main one I kept to myself. I didn't have a dime. Ever suddenly the place made a mistake and put an extra biscuit in. Did I want it? I did. I was starving. Then, every weekend, I got a breakfast item. Someone would order 2 and then decide they didn't want it, or something similar. I guess I was too young and stressed to realize at the time that they banded together to make sure that I had something to eat as well. That baby is now a 41-year-old woman who has done a lot of good in the world. I still think about the office crew who made sure that a young, sad, lonely, stressed pregnant woman got a biscuit. Commenter 3. This is the first thing I'm reading today. It's going to be a great day. Thank you, kind internet stranger, for reminding us about the importance of shifting our perspective and showing kindness. Commenter 4. I have been in the hungry at work, can't afford food bucket. I never stole, but I would often look longingly at the lunches in the work fridge, so hungry. Thank you for doing this. This post made me cry. Stories number 4. Aita for telling husband no to cake smashing. My son's first birthday is on Saturday, and to keep it short, my husband is really adamant about pushing the baby's face into the cake. I am super against this, because for one, the baby may laugh, but he might also cry. Also, it's his birthday and we shouldn't be doing anything that he may not enjoy. He's pretty sensitive as babies are, and I don't want him to start crying on his birthday. My husband is Mexican, and according to him it is a tradition his family does every birthday, but he himself told me he always hated it as a kid, and it made him angry. I get it's a family tradition, but it's not something I'm comfortable with, and I don't understand what's so funny about it. However, my son isn't just mine, and technically, This is part of his family's tradition on his father's side. So I told him if he does do it, I will be angry, and that he needs to tell his family that they aren't allowed to do it themselves, either. I'm telling him again tonight to remind him no. Because I heard him talking about buying 2 cakes, a small one, for just the baby, and I don't understand why we would do that, unless he was going to try. Any advice on how to talk this over again will help, unless I'm just being a jerk and making a big deal of nothing. Comments. Commenter 1. He always hated it, yet he wants to do that to a baby? I'm sorry. Is he sick in the head? How can he possibly justify doing what he hated having done to him? Reply. I guess because he won't remember it probably. I also think because his family is pressing it. My Phil finds it hilarious. Commenter 2. Oh, if that's the case, smash it into Phil's face. Commenter 3. That's what I thought too. If it's so funny, turn the tables on the father-in-law. Let's see how funny it is now. Have you suggested to your husband that one day he might find his son hates his guts because of this? This is the kind of thing that festers until your child announces that they want absolutely nothing to do with you ever again. Reply. I didn't mention it, but I am going to mention how he also hated it. Why would we do something even he didn't like? Commenter 4. What if you stand behind your son with a cupcake in your hand, and if anyone tries to sneak up on your baby, you cupcake, slap them bonus points if you can do it without breaking song update. Sorry. For the late update anyways, to keep it short, the party went okay for the most part. As for the cake face smashing, my husband shut it down immediately. We let the baby have his own cake. And he went at it pretty gently, honestly. We're expecting chaos, but it was very anticlimactic, lol. There were some family members you can guess who were chanting, "Push his face in the cake," over and over, thankfully. Hubby shot them a glare, and they shut up. We stayed with him the entire time while everyone ate the cake, and my mom made sure to box any leftovers up. So no face smashing was seen today. Just a really sweet birthday party. Thank you everyone for the advice. I'm so glad things turned out well. Comments. Commenter 1. It's awesome of your hubby to step up and shut his family down. Commenter 2. I still was hoping for them to smash Phil with cake. If I remember correctly, he was usually the instigator. Commenter 3. I'm glad your husband saw sense. Pushing an adult's face in the cake is bad enough, but an infant? Oh no. Hell no. Can we put an end to pushing people's faces in cakes? It's abusive, could cause injuries. Stories. Number 5 of AIO for leaving my sister's wedding early after she made a joke about my job in her speech. I, 18M, just graduated from high school, and I have been working part-time as a busser at a restaurant. It is not a glamorous job, but it's super chill. And honestly, I kind of love it. I'm saving money for school. I get along with my co-workers. It's honest work. I guess my family likes to tease me about it sometimes, but whatever. My older sister, 25F, got married over the weekend. During her reception speech, she did this whole thing thanking everyone. Then she looks at me and says, "And thanks to my name for leaving the dishes behind to bless us with his presence." Everyone laughed. I didn't. I was mortified. It was so embarrassing, and I could tell everyone was looking at me, especially all of her friends and my whole extended loud family. I have been insecure enough about not having a real job yet compared to my cousins, etc. I tried to brush it off, but my parents kept teasing me about it at dinner. I don't know, it just felt like the whole wedding was ruined for me. After about 30 minutes, I quietly got up and left and went home. I did not make a scene or a fuss now. My sister is upset, saying I ruined her wedding by storming off early and that it was just a joke. My parents are upset as well, saying I embarrassed her by being sensitive, but my friends are saying she was out of line and I was absolutely in the right to get angry, so I'm asking Reddit. AIO for walking out on my sister's wedding? Comments. Commenter 1. Nor absolutely nor why she include that in her speak anyways, just to make a fool of you. Bet she didn't thank anyone else for leaving their job to be there. A busser is a real job. Be proud you have a job. Commenter 2. In my opinion, she did not make a fool out of you. She made a huge fool out of herself. Be proud of yourself. You are doing a great job in getting on with your life after high school. Sometimes friends are way better for us. We cannot pick our family, but we can choose our friends. You did not ruin the wedding. I am sure your sister had lots of people there. She really hurt your feelings, and if I was your mom, I would have your back. Commenter 3. Your sister must be a very sad person to make a joke at your expense instead of saying something wonderful about you at her wedding. Commenter 4. Slightly overreacting. I think the joke was more about how much you spend your time at work, that you clearly enjoy instead of doing things with the family more so than you having not a real job. Also, any job that pays you money, turns out, is a real job. There isn't such a thing as a fake job, which is what you're implying. It might not be a career kind of job, unless you want to get into being a chef restaurant business. Although it doesn't require college or an apprenticeship, it is most certainly a real job. Stories number 6. My life turned upside down when I learned the reals. Reason my ex left me. Breakups are rarely clean, but some leave a kind of scar tissue you can't stop poking at. That's what happened to me. A little background. I'm Ethan, 33M. I was with Claire, 31F. For just over 4 years, we met at a friend's ugly Christmas sweater party. She had this ridiculous Rudolph sweater with a giant light-up nose that wouldn't stop blinking, and I couldn't stop laughing. I asked if she needed a battery replacement, and she rolled her eyes in that way that said, "Nice try." But she still gave me her number. We clicked fast. She was smart, funny, and had this way of making even the most boring errands feel like adventures. 4 years together, living in a little 2-bedroom apartment outside of Portland, and I genuinely thought we were building something permanent. Until last spring, out of nowhere, Claire sat me down one evening and said, "I don't think this is working anymore." No fight, no infidelity bombshell, no huge blowout. Just a calm, flat breakup speech. She said she wasn't happy, that she needed space, and that it wasn't me, it was her. I tried asking why she dodged. I begged for clarity, if there was something I could fix. I wanted the chance. She just kept repeating that it was better this way. Within 2 weeks, she had her stuff moved out. I was left standing in an echoing apartment surrounded by half-empty bookshelves, and this suffocating silence where her laugh used to be. I'll be honest, it wrecked me. I stopped eating properly, stopped working, out, barely showed up for my job at the tech company I work at. My friends tried to rally around me, but every time I opened my mouth, all I could say was, "I don't understand, what did I do?" Months passed. Life limped on. I forced myself back into routines, started running again, even signed up for a pottery class because Claire and I had always said we'd try it together. Still, that question, why, sat on my chest like a weight fast. Forward to about 6 weeks ago, I was at a wedding for an old college buddy, and who do I see across the reception hall? Maggie, 34F, one of Claire's old co-workers. We hadn't spoken in years, but she recognized me instantly and waved me over after. The usual small talk, she leaned in and said, "So, how are you holding up after everything?" That phrasing caught me off guard. I said something vague like, "I'm managing." Maggie gave me this look. The kind people give when they know more than they should. I pressed a little. She hesitated, but after a couple glasses of wine, the truth started to spill out. Apparently, the real reason Claire left me wasn't just space or not being happy. It was pressure from her family. Her parents never liked me. I knew that much. They were polite, sure, but there was always this undercurrent of disapproval. Her dad, a corporate lawyer, would grill me about my career path like it was a job interview. Her mom once joked that she hoped Claire would marry someone who could afford to give her a house in the Hamptons. I always brushed it off, because Claire would squeeze my hand under the table and tell me, "Don't worry about them, I love you." But according to Maggie, things escalated after Claire's younger sister got engaged to some hedge fund guy in New York. Claire's parents basically staged an intervention, telling her she was wasting her best years with me, that I wasn't ambitious enough, and that she deserved better. They even told her flat out, "If you marry Ethan, we won't support you." Maggie said Claire agonized over it for months. She loved me, but she also craved her parents' approval. Eventually, the pressure broke her down. So when she gave me that vague breakup speech, it wasn't because she stopped loving me. It was because she was too afraid to choose me over them. I swear, the room spun when Maggie told me this. For months I had blamed myself, wondering what I did wrong. if I wasn't attractive enough, funny enough, smart enough, and here it was. It had nothing to do with me at all. It was her parents pulling strings behind the scenes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to go back in time and shake Claire and say, "Why didn't you just tell me the truth? Why didn't you fight for us?" Instead, I just sat there at this wedding reception, staring at my beer, while Maggie patted my arm and said, "I always thought you two were great together. I'm sorry." Later that night, alone in my hotel room, I replayed everything in my head. Every dinner where her dad made a snide comment. Every time her mom side-eyed me when I mentioned my job. Every forced smile Claire gave me when I tried to shrug it off. It all added up. Now here's the thing though, knowing the truth didn't magically make me feel better. If anything, it hurt worse. Because now I know she didn't leave me because she stopped loving me. She left me because she couldn't stand up to them. It made me question everything. Did she ever truly have my back? Did the last 4 years mean as much to her as they did to me? Or was I just a placeholder until her family pushed her towards someone better? I haven't reached out to Claire since learning this part of me wants to, just to hear her admit it. Another part of me knows it won't change anything. She made her choice. But I can't lie. There's a twisted kind of relief in knowing it wasn't me. I wasn't unlovable, I wasn't broken. I was just collateral damage in someone else's expectations. Now I'm left with this mix of anger, sadness, and weird closure. Anger at her parents for meddling. Sadness that Claire didn't choose me, and closure in finally knowing the truth. Life moves on. I'm dating again. Cautiously. Slowly. But every time I meet someone new, I remind myself, I deserve someone who will choose me, not their parents, not their image, not their fear. Just me, and that's the lesson I'm clinging to. Update. My life turned upside down when I learned the real reason my ex left me. Hey Reddit, it's been a couple months since I posted about finding out why my ex Claire actually left me back then. I had just learned from her old co-worker Maggie that Claire's parents pressured her into ending things with me because I wasn't ambitious enough. I thought I was done with the story there. Left holding the truth, but not much else. Turns out life wasn't quite finished with me running into Claire. About 3 weeks after my original post, I was doing groceries at Safeway. I was pushing a cart half filled with random bachelor staples, frozen burritos, almond milk, a sad bunch of bananas. When I looked up and saw her Claire, she was standing in the produce aisle holding a bag of avocados, looking like she had just stepped out of a catalog. My stomach dropped to the floor. I debated turning around and sprinting out of there, but she spotted me first. "Ethan?" Her voice cracked a little like she hadn't expected to actually run into me. I nodded, gripping the handle of my cart like it was the only thing keeping me upright. We made awkward small talk at first. Work, the weather, how Portland rain never quits. She looked good. Too good. And it pissed me off that I still felt something seeing her smile. After a few minutes, she said quietly, "Do you want to grab coffee? Just to talk?" Every instinct screamed to say no, but my mouth betrayed me the conversation I never got. We ended up at a little cafe across the street. She ordered her usual oat milk latte, and I got black coffee because I needed the caffeine more than anything. At first, it was stilted. Then she sighed and said, "I feel like I owe you the truth," and, just like that, the dam broke. She admitted everything Maggie had told me, that her parents staged what she called an intervention, that they told her she'd regret marrying me, that they compared me, out loud, to her sister's fiancé, the hedge fund guy. "I didn't know how to fight them," she said, twisting her hands around her cup. "I thought I could tune it out, but they just kept hammering at me. I broke down." I asked her the question that had been burning a hole in my chest for months. "Did you still love me when you left?" She started crying. "Yes, God, yes. But I felt like I had to choose between you and my family and I wasn't strong enough." Hearing it from her mouth hurt more than hearing it secondhand, because there it was. Confirmation that she let them win, that our 4 years together weren't enough to outweigh their opinions. I asked, "Do you regret it?" She nodded. Every day, the bitter truth part of me wanted to grab her hand, tell her we could start fresh, that love was enough. But another part of me, the part that had been gutted and left in that empty apartment. Screamed, "Don't you dare!" So I asked the second burning question. "Why didn't you just tell me the truth back then?" She wiped her eyes. "Because I was ashamed. Because if I admitted it out loud, then I'd have to admit I let them control me, and I couldn't handle seeing the disappointment in your face. That did it. That broke something in me, because she was right. I would have been disappointed, but I also would have fought for us. Instead, she just left me in the dark, making me think I wasn't enough. Where things stand now." We sat there for almost 2 hours. She kept saying she was sorry. She even asked, "Do you think there's any way we could try again?" And here's the wild part. A year ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. But sitting there in that cafe, I realized something. I can't trust her to choose me when it matters. So I told her as gently as I could, "Claire, I'll always care about you, but I can't go back. Not after everything." She cried again, but she nodded. We hugged before leaving, and it felt like closing a book I'd been stuck on for too long. Moving forward. Since then, I've felt lighter. Like carrying that unanswered question was the real weight holding me down. I've thrown myself into new things. That pottery class, running 10Ks, even starting to date casually. Nothing serious yet, but I'm not walking into it with the same baggage anymore. Do I still think about her? Of course, 4 years doesn't disappear overnight. But now, when I think about Claire, I also think about the person I need to be with. Someone who will fight for me the way I fight for them. Someone who won't let outside voices decide the fate of our relationship. Final thought. If you've ever been left with no explanation, wondering what you did wrong, sometimes it really isn't you. Sometimes people just don't have the backbone to choose love over pressure. And that sucks, but it also frees you, because now I know I wasn't abandoned because I was unlovable. I was abandoned because she wasn't strong enough to stay. And that's on her, not me. Final update. I learned the real reason my ex left me. Hey Reddit. It's been almost a year since my last update, and a lot has happened. Enough that I figured it deserved a proper final post to close out this chapter of my life. When I first posted, I was gutted. Then, after the cafe conversation with Claire, I felt like I could finally breathe again. Now, I can honestly say I'm in a place I never thought I'd get to. Peace. What happened with Claire? I'll start with the obvious question everyone always asks me in DMs. Did Claire and I ever reconnect? The short answer is no. After our coffee talk, we exchanged a couple of follow-up texts. The, "I hope you're doing okay" kind of thing. But that faded quickly. A few months later, I saw on social media that she moved back to California, to be closer to her parents, which, in a way, felt poetic. She chose them once, and she chose them again. Do I still miss her sometimes? Of course you don't erase 4 years like chalk on a blackboard, but it's more of a soft ache now, not the sharp stabbing pain it used to be. And honestly, I think not having her in my day-to-day life is the only way I was able to truly heal. Therapy changed everything. One thing I did after that cafe meeting, and I recommend this to anyone going through heartbreak, was start therapy at first. I told myself I didn't need it. Time heals all wounds, right? But the truth is, time doesn't heal much if you spend it replaying the same hurt in your head. Therapy gave me the tools to stop blaming myself. To see that I wasn't less than just because her parents thought. So my therapist, Dr. Morris, asked me a question early on that stuck. What would it mean if you believed you were enough, exactly as you are? That question cracked something open in me, because I realized I'd spent not just that relationship, but most of my adult life trying to prove my worth. To partners, to bosses, even to my own parents. Learning that I didn't need to perform. For love? That was the real game-changer life. After heartbreak, once I stopped carrying the weight of not being enough, I started actually living again. I stuck with the pottery classes I'd signed up for on a whim. At first I was terrible. Every bowl came out lopsided. But slowly I got better. I even sold a few pieces at a local craft fair, which was surreal. I started running longer distances and ended up completing my first half marathon last fall. Crossing that finish line wasn't just about fitness. It felt symbolic, like proving to myself I could finish something hard. And yeah, I started dating again. At first it was awkward. Apps, small talk, bad coffee dates. But eventually I met someone. Her name's Hannah. Meeting. Someone new. I wasn't looking for anything serious when Hannah came along. We matched on Hinge, and our first date was just grabbing tacos at a food truck. But the thing that struck me right away was how easy it felt. No pressure, no performance. We've been together 6 months now. She knows all about my history with Claire. I laid it out early, partly because I didn't want secrets hanging around. Her response was simple. Sounds like she lost out, not you. And here's the kicker. Hannah chooses me every single day. Not because I'm flashy, not because I'm some high-powered executive, but because she likes me for me. That's something I didn't realize I'd been starving for until I had it. A different perspective. Looking back, I can see that losing Claire was both one of the worst and best things that ever happened to me. Worst, because heartbreak like that guts you best. Because it forced me to rebuild from the ground up. I had to learn what I actually want in a partner, what I will and won't tolerate, and what I bring to the table. If Claire had stayed, I might still be bending myself into shapes trying to prove I was good enough. Instead, I know I am full stop. What I'd tell anyone. Reading this, if you're in the place I was a year ago, blindsided, hurt, wondering why you weren't enough, let me leave you with this. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. Even when Claire finally told me the truth, it wasn't magic. I still had to do the work to accept it and move on. Therapy is worth it. Don't white-knuckle your healing. Talk it out, even if it feels uncomfortable. Your worth isn't up for debate. Not by their parents, not by your ex, not by anyone. You don't need to audition for love. Sometimes losing someone clears space for the right one. If you'd told me a year ago I'd be happy and in love again, I would have laughed. But here I am. Final closure. So yeah, this is my final update. I'm not writing this at 2 a.m. with tears on my keyboard anymore. I'm writing it on a quiet Sunday morning, coffee in hand, Hannah asleep next to me, sunlight creeping through the blinds, and for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm carrying someone else's choice. I feel like I'm carrying my own. And it feels pretty damn good. Stories number 7. AIO. My boyfriend gave his mother the dress wanted for my birthday. I, 23 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 26 male, for the past 3 years. About 2 months ago, while we were out shopping, I saw this really gorgeous, amazing dress that was just perfect for me. And in my favorite color. He looked at the dress and said it was beautiful, but it was rather expensive. $200, so we didn't end up getting it. For weeks after this, I would constantly talk about the dress to him and how I couldn't stop thinking about how beautiful it was, and hope one day I could save to buy it, since we've been budgeting a bit. Lately he would hear about this dress from me all the time, and talked about how great he thought it would look on me. So yesterday was my birthday, and we had a little get-together with some members of both of our families to celebrate, except when his mother arrived to our house, she was wearing the exact dress in the exact color. I was stunned. I thought that he must have told her about it and she went and got one, but it turns out that wasn't the case. In my surprise, I said, OMG, there's no way. That's the same dress I was looking and dying for months. And she replied saying, oh really? Zane, my boyfriend, gave it to me as a gift last month. I was shocked and confused. Even more so when boyfriend gave me the birthday gift he got me, and it was a gift card for Sephora for $50 for the rest of the night. I sat quietly in a corner in silence and confusion. I felt hurt and was lost in my head as to what was going on. My boyfriend and everyone was blissfully unaware and happy the entire night, and I didn't want to ruin the mood, so I started to try to put on a good face, but I can't shake this feeling of being hurt. A part of me feels like I am overreacting and acting spoiled and entitled. Am I? Just need to know if I need to calm down and not be upset about this relevant comments. Commenter 1. Babe, there is no way a 26-year-old man is this oblivious. He is treating you like dirt. It's not about the dollar value of your birthday present. It's that it was just a gift card with zero thought. Then for him to know how much you've been banging on about this dress and to randomly buy it for his mother is beyond strange. You are 23. Just quietly end the relationship. You don't even need to cite this as the reason he and his mama will gaslight you anyway. Just say you don't feel the same and are ending it. Don't say more, reply. I had the thought of, is this worthy of a breakup after this? But I always have a habit of doubting my feelings as being valid. I spent most of the night thinking I was being a brat about it. So thank you for the kind words and encouragement. Commenter 2. It's actually so odd that you talked about this dress so much, and he went out of his way to buy it for his mom? I genuinely can't even imagine a good excuse for this. LOL, I would be so weirded out. Also, I'd feel like I had been with a sociopath or something because that's an insane lack of empathy or understanding on his part. Reply. What is even more odd is this: the shopping area we saw the dress at is a good distance from our home, and the dress is not his mother's taste at all. So this means sometime after the fact of us being there, he drove all the way back there, and for some reason bought the specific dress I wanted and gave it to his mother for no reason, as it wasn't her birthday, nor any special occasion for her. According to her, he just randomly said, "I have something for you, Mom," and he brought the dress over to her house. She didn't know any of the other details about that being a dress I wanted. Commenter 3. Sounds like he did it on purpose. He probably knows you have good taste and used that to get a present for his mom. Was it for anything or just a gift out of nowhere? He had to know you'd see her wearing it. What was he thinking? Sounds like he wasn't TBH. Sounds like he's a mama's boy and didn't put in any effort for your gift. I'd be livid. Don't put up with this BS, girl. You deserve better. If you want to talk it out with him, do that and see what he says. But IDK, it doesn't seem worth it to me. But if you do, mention how it was obvious that you wanted that dress, and how hurtful it was that he gifted it to his mom and not you when he knew you loved that dress. Reply. A part of me also had this thought: was this intentional and planned? Then I thought I was being paranoid and they would never do that. But then thinking more, I then thought it had to be done on purpose. My head's in circles trying to piece it together. That's the even weirder part. It wasn't her birthday, or any special occasion for her. He just gave it to her randomly. Commenter 4. It definitely has put her in her place vibes to me. This guy sucks. OP. Commenter 5. Weird. And I don't think that too many moms wear the same style as your girlfriends. Is this a real story? If so, then dump Zane, cause no reason why he would do such a thing. What an idiot. Reply. It's very weird, and weird is how I feel. Best way to describe how I feel: weird and hurt. I have no reason to make this up, and she doesn't wear the same style as me. Never has, and not even close. So I don't understand it even more. The dress is completely not her taste. Commenter 6. Mother of a son here. Please tell this mom what her son did. Not all of us are under the assumption that our job ends when that boy turns 18, and she may be one of them. My responsibility in the legal sense ends at 18, but I'm still gonna be his mom. And that involves helping them when it's needed, and this boy clearly needs help. Commenter 7. Mom here, I have no sons, but I guarantee you if we did, their father and I would be extremely disappointed in that behavior, and we would make it known. In fact, if I were the mom in that situation, and we were the same size, I would give her the damn dress myself, and do it right in front of the son. She could wear it, make napkins out of it, or burn it in a ritualistic cleansing ceremony. I wouldn't give a shit. Throw the whole man away. Final update. I finally got the nerve to straight up ask him about everything, and his response, TLDR, was, he thought I had to be humbled a bit because I got way too overly excited about something as trivial as a dress. He thought it would be fun to see my reaction to it all. His mother had no idea about any of this, and just thought her son was giving her a gift. I am so upset and hurt that I just called my mom to come get me and will be staying with her for a few days while I figure out the next steps. But I am not going back to him and update. First of all, I want to say thank you and express my gratitude to all the PPL who have shown support. The kind words mean OS much to me right now, and I'm sorry I can't respond to each and every comment or DM. Just know I am reading them. And thank you. Me and Zane are over for good. He keeps calling me, but I won't answer, and there's nothing he can say or do to change that. I've realized and taken this as a sign of a nature he had kept hidden so well until now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. No dude is playing some hardcore manipulation games that, if you know, are abusive as fuck, and warning signs of a narcissistic sociopath. He did all that on purpose to intentionally hurt you and make you feel like you don't matter on your birthday. There's no reasoning with individuals like this Attempting to be validated or have them take accountability will only waste your time and potentially escalate the manipulation. Break up, block, separate yourself from him. This will wound his ego and he may try to get you back under his control. First with sugar, then with fear, or maybe straight to fear abuse and threats of violence or whatever else he thinks will motivate you to do what he wants. Don't let anyone tell you the behavior around this dress. Your birthday, all of it are not real big, rather scary red flags for a sociopathic narcissist bullshit. Once you have separated, if you choose to, you really should do some reading on narcissistic personality disorders and relationships to make yourself aware of the tactics and strategies they use to avoid them in the future. That shit is cruel, how he went about making sure to hurt you on your birthday, and it's fucking pathetic on his part. Commenter 2. I would be upset too. It's okay that he gets his mother a present more expensive than yours, but buying the thing you wanted so much for his mom and letting her wear it at your birthday? That's either stupid or really mean. Reply, yes, exactly this. I wouldn't mind at all a guy buying his mom's gifts. I strongly believe good moms could be cherished, but why this gift? Why was it the dress that I wanted I have been trying to make? It makes sense. Commenter 3. The part where he says that you need to be humbled, WTF? He is trying to eat away at your self-confidence. It's called nagging and is extremely emotionally abusive. I hope you have friends or family close by that can help you get away from this harmful dude. The sooner the better. Stories number 8. AITA. For shutting down my brother's proposal at my baby shower and then sending him a bill. I'm 29F due in November with our first baby. We planned a small mixed baby shower at a local village hall. Some nibbles, silly games, a couple of speeches. Me and my husband paid for most of it. My Emil chipped in for desserts. It wasn't anything mad, but it was our little celebration a week before the shower. My brother 26M texted asking if he could propose to his girlfriend during the party because the whole family will be there. I told him no. I said I'd be thrilled to help plan something special literally any other day, but I really wanted to keep the shower about, the baby. He kicked off a bit and got my mom involved, who said it would be so lovely, and 2 birds, 1 stone. I said no again, and thought that was the end of it. On the day during the toasts, my mom calls my brother up to say a few words. He starts chatting about love and family, and I see him pat his pocket. He turns to his girlfriend and starts to go down on one knee. I stood up, walked over, took the mic, not yanking it, honest, and said, "Hey, we love you guys, but we're not doing this today. Let's please keep today focused on the baby. We'll help you celebrate properly soon. I promise." The room went dead quiet. His girlfriend looked mortified and legged it to the loo. My brother got angry, said I'd embarrassed him, and left. The rest of the shower was awkward. Afterwards, a few family members said I did the right thing, and that proposals at other people's dues are tacky. Others said I should have just let it happen, and not caused a scene. That night the family group chat blew up. My mum said I was controlling, and that she'd cleared a surprise moment with the venue, as if that's the point. I said I'd already told them both no, and that consent matters for parties too. My brother said I ruined his big moment, and that his girlfriend had planned to fly her sister over next month, so this was the only time everyone was together. I told him we would have all turned up for him whenever he asked, right? Here's where I might be the arsehole. The next morning I sent my brother an itemized request to cover half of the hall hire and the extra drinks package, $220 total, since he tried to, in his words, make it our day too. I said if he wanted to use the party as his proposal venue, he could help pay for it. He hasn't paid obviously and now says I'm being petty and tight. I know sending a bill looks bad, but I was so hurt that he and my mum just ignored a boundary. I'd clearly set since then. His girlfriend messaged me privately to apologize and said she had no idea he was planning to do it there. She also said she doesn't want their proposal tied to the memory of my baby shower anyway, which I totally get and was grateful for. I told her I was sorry for how awkward it was and would love to help them plan something nice later on, so Aita for taking the mic and shutting him down? And am I an extra arsehole for the invoice? I'm willing to hear I handled it badly, but I also feel like if I'd let it happen, the whole shower would have just become about their engagement, and the baby would have been forgotten. If you were at a party and someone tried this, Would you? Just let it happen, or step in politely. What's a better way I could have handled it in the moment? I'm definitely willing to make up. I just don't want to set a precedent that my no doesn't actually mean anything. Dr. Told my brother he couldn't propose at my baby shower. He tried to do it anyway. I stopped it. Mid-kneel with a quick announcement. Families divided. I then sent him a $220 bill to cover half the party since he tried to hijack it. AITA for both the shutdown and the bill. Comments. Commenter 1. One of the tackiest and cheapest thing you can do is hijack another person's event for your selfish purposes. Above all, when you were told no. Your mother is so but so wrong. It's not so lovely and two birds, one stone. It's tacky and cheap. You did right to send him the bill, but also send it to your mother, since she had the nerve to cleared a surprise moment with the venue. She didn't even chip for the event. Your brother is being absolutely selfish, blaming you for, I ruined his big moment. He ruined it by taking not for an answer when he asked. He only embarrassed his girlfriend, and she's a decent person for apologizing. You did just what you had to do, because baby showers are about babies, not proposals. Have you all thought what would have happened if the girlfriend rejected the proposal? If you already lived an awkward moment, that would have ended your event for sure. Commenter 2. Enta. Your mom and your brother sound very entitled and deserve to be called out for crossing a very clear boundary. Commenter 3. He's clearly a cheapskate, trying to have an event he hasn't paid anything for. He's also stupid. His girlfriend's family isn't going to warm to him proposing publicly when his family is there, and hers is not. I bet girlfriend feels the same. Commenter 4. Insane. That your brother thought that was the moment to propose. If my partner tried to propose to me at a baby shower, I would lose it. UNTA at all. And anyone taking his side is a nut. Case, well done. In handling it the way you did. Don't pander to your mom. She really crossed a line by going behind your back and your express wishes to try make the proposal happen. WTF. Stories number 9. Ada for not letting my stepsister borrow my wedding dress. Me, F23, got married to my husband about a year ago. It was wonderful, and probably the happiest day of my life. My family was involved with everything, and I was delighted by it, including my stepfather, who at first I had a somewhat rocky relationship with, but I grew to appreciate him. His daughter, F26, is an entire different story. We can't get along. I've tried, and I'm sure she also has. But it's not about being different. It's because she has always had very similar taste as me. We used to fight about our clothes, our toys, and so on. She has a relationship with a man whom I've got to know, maybe 3 or 4 times. She announced her relationship with him during my wedding, which annoyed me at first, but I let it go since it was only a 20-second PSA, and became engaged just 4 months after that. Now she has been planning her wedding, and I've tried to help as much as I can since I already had most contacts fresh. She plans to marry a day after Christmas, so I thought everything was set and ready to go. On Saturday, she calls me crying, saying that her wedding dress wouldn't arrive on time since she had some changes done. For some context, no one knows how this dress looks because she wanted to keep it a surprise for everyone. Per her own words, I tried to comfort her, and I told her I knew some cute boutiques who had nice wedding dresses ready for her date. She cries harder, telling me she didn't want any cheap dress. I tried to calm her down once more, before telling her I would call my stepdad to see what we could do. Before I could finish that sentence, she says out of the blue, "Can I wear your dress?" I didn't respond, because I didn't know how to. She goes on, explaining that it would make things less troubling, how she's the same size as me, and how much she loved it the second she saw it on me. I don't know what possessed me to simply say no and hang up the phone. I've received multiple calls from her fiancé, and my stepdad, who I did respond to. He pleaded to me to let her borrow my wedding dress, just like when we were kids. I tried to explain to him that my wedding dress was very special to me, and I wouldn't feel comfortable letting anyone else in it. Unless it was my decision. He got super angry with me and hung up. My messages have been exploding with my stepsister, her soon-to-be husband, and my stepdad telling me how horrible I am for being so selfish. I know how my stepsister is I know how dramatic and over the top she can be when she doesn't get her way. But there's a part of me that feels awful for not letting her wear it, since it's just a dress, and it would make her so happy. But there's that other part of me that remembers how my husband, my mom, and I struggled to save for it because it was my dream dress, and I don't want to share something so personal with her. Should I just let her have it, just so things don't escalate? Update 2. Well, that happened. I arrived at said coffee shop just in time. She took half an hour to get there. I talked as gently as I could with her, explaining how I didn't want her to wear my wedding dress and why, since it was so emotionally attached to me. She went absolutely nuts. She called me a selfish cow, telling me how I'm the most horrible human ever. I tried to calm things down until I just couldn't do it anymore. I knew this was a possibility. So as soon as she started crying, I pulled out her wedding invitation and gave it back to her. I told her I wouldn't be attending the wedding, but I hoped it all went perfectly. Her voice couldn't get louder at this point. She threatened to come to my house and take it from me. I simply left the coffee shop without saying another word, and now I'm home. Comments. Commenter. NTA, I'm calling shenanigans on your stepsister's part. She probably had her eye on your dress since day one. Probably commissioned a similar dress if she even did, hence the surprise, and planned to use your dress as a backup if hers didn't show up in time. Commenter 2, NTA. Maybe if it were 10 years after your wedding, you might not have such strong, sentimental attachment to the dress. But it's too soon. It's totally fine to not want to see someone else in it, especially someone you've had a rocky relationship with. It just feels icky, like, I don't know, lending her your bed for the wedding night. Be as calm as possible, helpful if you feel inclined to be, but stick to your guns. I'm sorry, but my wedding dress is too personal to share. It's not your fault your stepsister has mangled her planning, but it's not the end of the world for her, either. Just ride this out as serenely as you can and say no. Commenter 3, NTA. She didn't order a dress. She planned to wear yours from the outset. She and your stepdad, and anyone else hounding you, can take a flying leap. Make sure your dress is secured. Commenter 4, NTA. No is a complete sentence, she asked, was rejected, and now she needs to be a big girl and move on. Throwing tantrums at her age is just tacky. If I were you, I would lock down your dress. Wedding stress plus general craziness can drive people to do insane things like break in and steal a wedding dress. Move the dress, hide it, lock it up, whatever you got to do. Then send her a text message reaffirming your stance. Why? Because you need a paper trail to prove you never gave her permission, in case she tries to spin a different story. Then ignore everyone. Hopefully she'll wake up and realize she is wasting time throwing a tantrum instead of looking for her own. Dress update: Aita for suing my stepsister after she stole my wedding dress? Per my last post, my F24 stepsister F27 got married last December. She asked for my wedding dress after not wanting to even look for one herself. I said no. I stood my ground and I didn't go to her wedding. Fast forward to last month. She and her husband have separated. She says they are only taking a break. I begun to rebuild my relationship with her. I took time and effort to find a way to talk to her, and even go out in double dates with his husband and mines. That went really well, up until the break she took with her hubby. She stopped talking to me altogether, ghosted me when I wanted to plan stuff, and I figured she only needed some time up until she calls me again, in the middle of August. She wants to come over to my house and talk. I genuinely felt happy to have her come over, since my stepdad kept pressuring to finally make peace. She comes over, we have coffee, and she asks to see my closet since she was going out on a date and had nothing to wear. I thought this was full circle moment for both us, so I said yes. We looked through my clothes and I picked something that went well with her. She said thanks and put the outfit in a bag she brought with her, and left. Some days pass, and as I was cleaning my own closet, I find that the spot where my wedding dress was hanging from was empty. It was in a garment bag, and it was there since I don't want it to wrinkle so bad since the fabric was a little fragile. I freaked out, searched for it everywhere. I realized the last time I saw it was before my stepsister came. I called her and asked sincerely, in case I was wrong. She got extremely defensive and hung up the phone. I called my stepdad. He was angry at me for thinking she could do that later. My stepdad calls again. He got my stepsister to tell the truth. She stole it while I was looking for an outfit for her. He tells me to calm down and to resolve this like adults, but I called her again and simply said, to prepare her lawyers. This created massive drama within my family, and I was too livid to acknowledge it until my mom called me. Now, I'm thinking I may be crossing a line, but that dress means too much for me. I saved every penny I got, and it truly was the dress of my dreams. I'm scared to find out if she did anything to it. AITA for suing my stepsister? Comments. Commenter. Honestly, it feels like this should be the first step. I'm not sure lawyers are needed. Call the cops. Tell them you want to press charges and recover that dress. Tell them the dress is worth thousands of dollars. This becomes a felony against the stepsister. The cops will treat it very seriously, and it's potentially an easy victory since they can just march over to the house and take the item back. Commenter 2. And Tashi's a thief, and she will be treated like one. Reply agree. OP should text her immediately, stating, you need to return the stolen wedding dress immediately from my home undamaged within today, 24 hours, to avoid police action and legal action for any damages. This dress was dollars and would be a felony in our state. You not returning this stolen property will result in a police report and legal action for damages. You also need to return the other color dress that I let you borrow. I will not ask you again. I say text her. Not give her a second chance. But a text will likely get her to respond. Her response is evidence for your police report. Consider using the CC option to include stepdad. If he responds to her without changing the respond to all option, you will have his response to her. Could be more evidence he might help her return your property, which is good. Better for you. Commenter 3, NTA. I honestly can't believe that an adult would steal a freaking dress and not expect to get sued like a thief. Commenter 4, NTA. Call the police and file a report for the full value of the dress, and tell them both she and your stepfather acknowledged she stole it from your closet. Her marriage is ending, but she still thought to steal your dress. This chick is cracked. Stories. Number 10. My husband prefers to be with his parents rather than with me and our baby, in order not to be so obvious. I will not use names other than Eric for my husband's name. I am a 27-year-old woman, and my husband, who we will call Eric, is 25. We met at university, and although not everything was so nice in our relationship, we were able to move forward. We got married and recently had a baby. My husband has the habit of living with his parents. Being an only child, he wants to be with them all the time. Okay, I understand, but since we moved in with them, life has become hell for me. Starting with them not knowing the meaning of privacy and coming into our room whenever they want. On many occasions, I have had to change my clothes, even putting them on backwards. I have communicated this discomfort to him, but he simply does nothing. On one occasion, his father even came in when he was practically without clothes. I had to quickly cover myself, and he left the room anyway. It's annoying, but he's used to having his life invaded like this. The dogs they have at home are very dirty, and the doctor already prohibited us from having animals near our baby. But far from my husband understood why he got angrier and preferred to ignore the doctor. It is worth mentioning that my baby has sensitive skin and is allergic to dog hair, in addition to doing his business inside the house, especially in the kitchen since they make him sleep there, due to the cold. Last Sunday our baby ran out of milk, because I don't have enough, so she has mixed breastfeeding. That morning I didn't get up in a good mood, and after seeing that, she didn't have milk. I became desperate because of her crying since days ago I had told her that there wasn't much left in the bottle. She got upset and just decided to ignore me. I want to mention that I don't work because I couldn't finish my degree, and I was planning to do it next year since I only have one more year left. I sat on the bed crying helplessly, as I couldn't buy the jar of milk for him myself, and had to wait for him to give me the money or at least buy it himself. The problem arises when my mother-in-law enters the room as always without knocking and repeats to me that breakfast was served for a while. I had no head to eat. First, it was my baby's crying, and I want to mention that when I get depressed, my body doesn't eat anything. I feel bad, and on many occasions I even vomit. Going back to the story, I told her that I wouldn't eat it, that I would go get the milk, I told her in a low voice, because I had already cried and was depressed about what was happening. She left and then came back in and started yelling at me, telling me that I am inconsiderate, that I always behave like this, and that she is not there to put up with my whims, that I should go and don't stop me, Eric. Upon seeing his mother's reaction, simply threw the suitcase at me and told me to pack your things. Believe me, I froze, but he insisted, and told me that it was all my fault that I can't even give enough breast milk to my baby. That was the last time I insulted his family, and that I should hurry up and pack everything so that he would stop bothering his parents. They don't know the pain of his words. I simply packed everything I could and put it in the car that he lent me from his parents, and we went down to my apartment. I stayed crying while he left. On the way back to his house to return his father's car, that afternoon I cried until I was tired. When he arrived, he didn't speak to me and just slept in the living room. I insisted on talking, but he just told me that he was sick of me and that he just wanted me to come back to my parents' house. They live in another state. I started to cry and asked him to talk. It's been 3 days, and today I tried again, but it was worse. He told me that he didn't love me, that he didn't consider me his family, and that his grandmother had complained that he was kicking her out of the house. I told him that the grandmother thing was a lie, that even he was there, but he acted crazy and just said, I can't take your side because they are my family. That hurt me even more since I felt it betrayed, but on top of that he also told me that his parents will withdraw their support. If he continues with me, I want to clarify that he still has his thesis to finish, and his parents are paying his graduation's expenses. I just cried, and he just looked at me and said, go with your parents and take the baby. I'm looking for a woman who wants to live in my parents' and grandparents' house. I want to live with my parents and work there with them. You're not wife material. Go with yours and make your life so I can make mine. I'll send you money for the baby's expenses. And that's it. I couldn't believe it. I was a crumb for 4 days begging him, even though the mistake was his parents, and I was still to blame for it. I'm devastated. I already bought my plane ticket for me and my baby. I don't know what to do or how to tell my parents that they voted for me today. He packed his things and went to his parents' house despite everything I told him and begged him. He didn't care. I feel stupid for waiting for him to walk through that door and hug me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're not stupid. You're a mom doing her best while your husband chose comfort and his parents over you and your baby. That's not love, that's abandonment. Go where you're respected and supported. You and your child deserve peace, not pain. You've got this. Reply. It hurts me that he didn't take my side, and even more that he left. I don't know where that sweet man was who promised to always be by my side. Commenter 2. NTA. He chose his parents over you and your baby, then blamed you for his family's disrespect. You deserve so much better. Reply. Lose, but it still hurts me because I really love him. I left my family on the other side of the country so he wouldn't leave his. Even when I had the baby and I bled during childbirth, he just said, okay, now get over it. Commenter 3. NTA. Divorce. This man-child so he can stay with mommy and daddy full-time. The child support you'll get from him will be more help for you than what you're getting right now. My husband prefers to be with his parents instead of me and our baby. Hello friends, thank you for your advice. Today he came in his parents' car and took us to our baby's physical therapy session, but he took advantage of the fact that he was not at home to pick up all his things from the apartment. I'm not going to deny that not seeing her clothes or her things hurt me. I cried until I got married on a call with my sister. When he came to drop us off after physical therapy, I wanted to talk to him. I wanted him to come to his senses and see that I just wanted to keep our family together. But he just left me there, crying, standing at the door waiting for him to turn around and regret this decision. I know that I lost my pride for begging him to stay, but I really love him, and he just left me there. I sent him messages, and the only thing he told me is that he has already made his decision, and he will not go back. You don't know how much pain I felt. But as my sister told me, this pain will pass, and he will have to come back. But when he wants to come back, I don't know if I will be with him at the moment. I am devastated, and I spoke to my mother to have moral support. I feel that alone I fall more into anxiety. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Hun, I just read your first post. Holy shit. I'm so sorry. You not having enough milk is not your fault. Your husband and his family should have considered the fact that stress can lead to a smaller supply. This man is still acting like a child, being with mommy and daddy. He's a grown man with a family and a child. His running away like a little shithead is unacceptable. When you get married and become a parent, your partner and child come before everything. He probably doesn't see it and may never see it, but he is making the biggest mistake of his life. I know that you want that family unit, but sometimes it's better for them to walk away. You haven't done anything wrong. You expressed your feelings and wanting to stay together, and he is walking away from it. Your baby doesn't want or deserve to see his dad treat his mom poorly. Make sure you keep reaching out to your sister and mom for support. Maybe get into some therapy to help with the stress of motherhood and the husband situation. It will all work out. You don't deserve a husband treats you and lets his mother treat. You badly spend time with your family and baby. You deserve the absolute best hope. You are enjoying those baby cuddles. Reply. I would like to be strong for my baby. Although sometimes all this got to me, I can't be the woman he wants me to be. I promised myself never to let anyone walk on me. But by loving him so much I lost my self-esteem. I wonder if one day he will regret all this. Update. 2. My husband prefers to be with his parents than with me and our baby. Hello everyone, I missed a while. But I was very depressed. Last week I took a flight to get to my parents' house. He signed the travel authorization, and here I am at my parents' house. I was able to talk more in depth about this topic with my mother, and she advised me to let things go, and that one day he will regret it and come back. But a week has passed. He has not returned, and he barely talks to me to find out how our baby is doing. I am desperate. It is painful for me to see that from one day to the next. My marriage, my family was destroyed by my in-laws. I was left devastated. I know that I must move forward, but it is difficult. It still hurts me to know that my partner, the one I chose for life, has betrayed me in that way. Even so, I decided to go ahead and look for a job and ask my father to help me finish my studies. I don't want to remain stuck in depression, thanks to everyone who advised me. Top comments. Commenter 1. You're really strong for choosing to move forward despite the pain. Keep focusing on yourself and your baby. Commenter 2. Sis, you need therapy. The level of betrayal is devastating. You need help to sort out your feelings and move on to the next phase of your life without the drama. Good luck. Do not run back to that. Man, nothing will change. Commenter 3. I know your in-laws didn't help, but he obviously chose to abandon his wife and baby to remain a spoiled man-child. I know you're hurt, but you and baby are worth so much more than this. I don't know where you are, but I'd see a lawyer and discuss how to protect yourself and your baby, so he can't come back and take either of you. If you return to that house, they will treat you horribly. I wish you well in your studies, and a good life for you both. NTA. Commenter 4. He destroyed the marriage, not your in-laws. He isn't mature or grown up, and as time goes by, you will be happier without him. Update. 3. Hello everyone, thank you for such nice messages. These days I was very depressed. I decided to make zero contact with him, and I have not heard from him for more than 2 weeks. My older brother is very upset. My parents told me not to ask for a pension, since I have their support. He just continued with his life as a friend told me. It still hurts me. And about the postpartum depression, I think it did because it was not easy for me not being able to breastfeed my baby well. And the constant pressure from my in-laws, or well, ex-in-laws. I plan to open a cafeteria with a very good friend. My baby is improving thanks to physical therapy. But now I have to return to the city where I lived with him to pick up my things and move near my parents. I know that this will happen at some point. I don't know if he will repent one day, but I don't want to fall again and forgive him. I won't deny that I felt tempted to call him and ask him to reconsider, that we still have time. But there is no point in turning back. I want to heal my soul and focus on my baby and moving forward. I am afraid of the things he will say, because his family, although they are fanatical Christians, are hypocrites. I already found out that his mother wants to pair him with her best friend's daughter, and that felt like a betrayal. I will be telling you as time passes about my decision and what happens. It's not easy, but I don't want to cry for him anymore. My mom told me to make myself prettier and more alive for me and my baby. So he realizes that he made the worst decision of his life, although I don't know if one day he will regret it. Thank you all for listening to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Go for the pension. Offered to have him terminate his rights for a settlement. You do not want him to have mommy suddenly. Decide that once he gets with someone whom she deems acceptable, that the perfect thing would be to take custody of your child away from you so they can be a happy family. Also, have others go get your things when you're ready. Do not go alone, and if possible, let them handle it. You do not need the stress. Start speaking with a counselor therapist to help you process what you're going through. You may not think so, but you've got this. I completely understand the breastfeeding emotions as I never actually developed milk and stall with my son. I promise it gets better. Reply. Thank you very much for the advice. I feel bad and the worst mother in the world for not being able to give milk to my baby. His words echo in my head on that topic, and it hurts me. OP explains the reasons for not being able to breastfeed and not receiving enough milk. Reply. I had an emergency cesarean section, and after a month I had gallbladder surgery. With so much medication and diet, my milk decreased, and after the operations, I could no longer recover. Well, commenter 2. Why would you not get a pension from your ex-husband? You and your baby are entitled to that money. Reply. He always belittles me because I demanded that I work to have a better future, and the truth is, I don't want his family to invent that. Even though they are separated, they keep. Me UP should consider about going to therapy in order to receive proper resources. Reply. I tried to go to therapy, but I still don't feel good leaving the house. Even when I take my baby for his physical therapy, I see so many couples together facing the difficulties of their babies as a family. And I don't understand why he didn't want to do that. It was so easy to choose his parents, and it made us even come to envy those parents who would give everything for their babies. I won't deny that since pregnancy I cried and had a very bad time, even worse when I found out that my baby had the cord in his neck. I felt that everything that happened to him was my fault, and his complaints made me feel worse. Commenter 3. The best revenge is being happy and thriving. Show him what he's going to miss out on. You can do this, op. Show him you don't need him, that he's insignificant in your life. Go out there and start your business. I hope it does well, and just be the best mother you can. Make him regret his actions. We're all behind you. Go show him what you've got. Stories. Number 11. AITA for calling my boyfriend an idiot because he won't get a colonoscopy, even though his mom had colon cancer? So my boyfriend, 33M, has a family history of colorectal cancer. His mom was diagnosed in her early 40s, and it was really bad. She survived, but it was a long, awful ordeal. He was old enough to remember it. Because of that, his doctor told him he should start colonoscopies earlier than most people. He's technically overdue for his first one, and lately he's had some weird stomach problems. I've been telling him for a year to get it checked out. He keeps saying things like, "It's embarrassing. I'm too young. What if they find something bad?" Like, yes, that's the point of the test. The other night we got into it because he mentioned again that his stomach has been bothering him. I told him, point blank, "You're being an idiot. Your mom went through hell with this, and you're ignoring your chance to be healthy." I also said that if he won't take care of himself, I don't know if I can plan a long-term future with him because I don't want to lose a partner to something that could have been caught early. He got really upset and accused me of being controlling and dramatic. Now he's barely speaking to me. I feel like I was harsh, but honestly, I'm scared. The news has story after story of people dying from this because they ignored it too long. People his age, too. I'd rather him be mad at me than bury him in 10 years. AITA for calling him an idiot and making this an ultimatum? Comments. Commenter 1. I also said that if he won't take care of himself, I don't know if I can plan a long-term future with him because I don't want to lose a partner to something that could have been caught early. This is what a boundary is, folks. Please take notes. NTA. You were harsh, yes, but justifiably so. Commenter 2. NTA. My best friend's husband just got diagnosed with colorectal cancer last week, and he is in his 30s. His first symptom was sudden onset of IBS-like issues. He didn't go to the doctors until his second symptom started. a couple months later blood and poop, and it's possible that it's already too late for him. It is so important to catch these things early, and you can't just stick your head in the sand and hope it will go away. Commenter 3. NTA. Very reasonable ultimatum, because true. You really don't want to be with someone that won't do reasonable things to stay healthy. Commenter 4. Honestly, you aren't being harsh. He needs to get a grip and have it done. It could save his life. The rhetoric around embarrassment is crazy. We are all humans. We all poop. We all have bums. But yet it can be so hard for people to seek help. Maybe ask him what it is in particular that makes me feel like this embarrassing. And the end of the day, he needs to take accountability. And ultimately won't do it unless he decides he will. I'd sit him down and say how I can support you, so you can seek the help you need. Point blank. I'd say if you don't seek the help, you can't complain about the stomach problems, but maybe I am harsh. He is being an idiot, and he needs to realize the consequences are on his life, and no one else's. And in reality, if it ends up being something bad, the decision to delay diagnosis sits with him at this stage. Would he rather be embarrassed and alive? Or if it's serious, he may not get that luxury. This is all my thinking out loud. But a gentle, how I can support you approach would be best, considering he doesn't take the harsher tone positively. Stories number 12. I'm starting to suspect my 21M girlfriend 19F might secretly be homeless and hiding it from me. What's the best way to bring this up? So, we've been dating for a little over 2 months. It's gotten pretty serious. We see each other like 5 to 6 times a week. She refuses to tell me where she lives, even what general direction from my place. She is always out. Literally always at some cafe, or something. Besides allegedly being home from 3 a.m. when the last one closes to 9 a.m.-ish, she's talked about knowing plenty of good spots to take naps outside in the sun. She carries a full heavy backpack around. It seems to have way more than just one change of clothes. Looks about full enough for a week-long trip or something. She recently took a trip to grab some stuff out of storage in the city she used to live in. She was running late on the way back and asked to keep the 5-6 bags at mine for the night, 'cause her storage locker was closed. It was never clear to me why she couldn't just store them at her place. I'm not sure on this, but it doesn't seem like her mom, who she lives with, spends all her time with works. And my girlfriend. His job doesn't pay enough for housing, despite loving cooking and being broke. She only ever eats out, unless I let her cook at my place or cook with her. How to bring it up. She's probably afraid I'd leave her if I knew, which is not the case at all. I want to help her edit to add, this doesn't mean I'd necessarily let her move in immediately. Comments. Commenter 1. I was in the same situation as you. I wasn't sure how to handle it. I was less direct back then. So I just made comments about how it sure is a shame that people blame homeless folks for their situation. The country needs to do better by its homeless. Any of us could become homeless if we were unlucky enough, etc. The baff at the time finally told me, and I ruined all my prior subtlety by blurting out, I know, lol. Then I just reassured him that I didn't judge him for it, and that I'd like to help. I also gave him some cuddles to reinforce the message. Anyway, the help he wanted was rides to job interviews, so that's the help I gave. At some point he kind of unofficially moved into my place, like he stayed for a while I invited him to, and then I wanted him to stay since he was such pleasant company. He was certainly happy to move in since the shelter he'd been in was awful. It turned out fine in that case, but if you decide to offer your GF a place to live, always keep in mind that there will be a power imbalance until she's on her feet again. Make sure not to steamroll her by accident, since she might feel like she just has to go along with whatever you want if you're the only thing standing between her and homelessness. Also make sure you'll be ready to kick her out without breaking the law if it turns out she's secretly horrible. After all, the possibility that somebody is secretly horrible is one of the main reasons you shouldn't move in with someone quickly. So if you are going to move someone in quickly, you need to have a plan for what you'll do if it turns out badly. Even if she's truly lovely, though you two might not be compatible and might choose to break up. You two should have a game plan for that as well, so that she knows she won't be on the street the next day if the relationship ends, but will instead have some time, and hopefully, help in finding a new place to live. If I found myself in a situation like that again, I'd probably approach it more directly. Other people here have given good advice on what you might want to say. I don't think you'd go wrong with taking inspiration from the opener. You bippity-boppity nope suggested, though the conversation still might be difficult since it's no doubt an upsetting thing for your girlfriend. Reply. Thank you. Would you mind if I DM you at some point to talk more about it while being able to include some details I don't want to post publicly for anonymity? Commenter. 2. Hey, I want to talk to you about something. Let me preface with this is not bad or negative. I'm asking about it because I care. I've noticed insert everything you wrote above, and I'm concerned you might not have a stable home right now. I am here for you and would like to help. Then let her talk. Commenter. 3. Are you willing to let her stay with you? If not, don't bring it up until she does. Commenter. 4. I'm not sure you should ask her, unless you want her to stay with you or have another solution. It's one thing for her to leave your place when she doesn't have her own place to go to, and it's completely another doing the same. But knowing your boyfriend is letting you leave when he, too, knows you have no place to go. I get that you won't judge her, and you want her to feel comfortable telling you anything. Just put yourself in her shoes for a minute and think how you would feel about this. And then do what you feel is best. I don't have the right answer. Just giving you something else to think about. Stories number 13. WebTA. If I didn't report my co-worker to HR, this is a throwaway account I 29 fam working in IT within a team of over 10 men and one woman co-worker, fake Sandy and I sit near each other in our office, and we speak during the day, but never too much in detail or too personal stuff. I don't speak about my husband all day, but it is definitely no secret that I am married. Normally I take my lunch outside of the office, but today Sandy asked if I would like to have lunch with her at a local place. We had lunch and we spoke about the usual stuff like work, vacations and stuff. When we came back to the office, I told her I am going to the bathroom to freshen up. I am wearing braces, so after each meal I have to take care of that, and she said she is coming too. I don't know how things degenerated from her speaking about getting a haircut and me swishing water. But as soon as I finished, she took my face and kissed me on the lips. This took me greatly by surprise, and I took a step back and asked her, "What is she doing?" She was immediately apologetic. Said she must have understood things wrong. I told her, "I am married." She kept saying sorry and left the bathroom. We did not have an argument, but the rest of the day was really awkward. Had no idea she liked women. Also, I have no idea how she got the impression that I like women. Anyway, after I got home, I told my husband because I wanted to know if I give off the vibe that I like women. He told me I need to report this to HR. He did not get angry or anything, but he said this is unacceptable to happen at work. To be honest, I believe her that it was a misunderstanding, and I trust that she understood my message clearly. My husband thinks that this should be reported regardless. I don't want to cause issues. Would I be the asshole if I did not report Sandy to HR? Comments. Commenter. 1. In my experience, it's best to get things documented correctly and immediately. So many ways things can come back to you if not documented. What if she decides to get ahead of it and say it was you that was forward? What if someone else came forward and somehow knew that she had done this to you too? It's just best to have that conversation. To CYA. Commenter 2. It was absolutely a misunderstanding on her part, and in a social setting an apology would be adequate. However, this is a workplace. If you would report a man to HR for kissing you, then you should report her. It doesn't matter what her preferences are. It's inappropriate and needs to be dealt with by management. Commenter 3. YWNBTA. Since it is your choice. Her conduct was extremely inappropriate and unprofessional, though I have to wonder if there have been other misunderstandings. Reply. This is the thing. I never paid specific attention to her behavior in the past. Usually at work we all speak of pets, have the occasional verbal tantrum over work stuff, and discuss the music we have at the radio. Spouses are rarely mentioned, unless one of the guys asks about gift or vacation ideas. My husband's opinion is that this was her attempt at a date. Commenter 4. If it was a man, would you report it? Commenter. But you would have been okay with going to HR if a guy did it. So yes, you're an AH here. Commenter 6. YTA. If you don't report, it's sexual harassment that you seem to be downplaying because the harasser was a woman. Update. So I reported my colleague to HR after my husband kept telling me if it was the other way around, I would report it. I did it. I told HR that I don't want any investigation or to hurt her in any way. I just want to be on the record that it happened. HR assured me no further action would be taken unless I want it, and it will be kept anonymous. I felt so bad for doing it. I thought I made a big mistake by reporting a misunderstanding. My colleague missed work the next couple of days, and when she came back she was visibly changed. Very annoyed, since we still sit one next to another in the office, I behaved normally. "And we don't speak about that day today," she scoffed when a colleague from a different department passed by. I looked at her with the corner of my eye, but she saw it, and she leaned over to me and probably felt like it was a good time to dish some tea. She told me she has been called to HR and given a lecture about work harassment and has a couple of in-person courses on this. I honestly froze. At that moment, Sandy then proceeds to tell me that coworker who just passed must have reported her because they were flirting, and she made some jokes that might not have landed well with that colleague. I was there looking at her like an idiot, not knowing what to say while she went on a rant about how this place is so against LGBTQ people, and you can't make a joke or flirt without someone taking offense. She told me she is just trying to find people to have fun with and encourage them to explore their options. She even gave me as an example, "I tried to help you as well, but for sure you weren't ready for it." I did not say a word, and just looked at her for a second before coming back to my work. I felt like an idiot. I really thought she made a mistake by kissing me, and defended her so much to my husband, saying that it was a simple misunderstanding, and she felt so embarrassed. Now I know I was one of the people she tries to help explore. I don't know what to do with this information. I still believe misunderstandings can happen, but I don't feel that bad for reporting her anymore. My husband was right. You guys were right. Comments. Commenter 1. YWBTA. If you don't go back to HR and update them, you need to let them know that she admitted to you that what she did was not on accident or innocent misunderstanding. They need to know that she is deliberately sexually harassing fellow employees in an attempt to force them to change their sexual identity, cis, LGBTQ+, etc. Reply. I fully agree with you, and I am going to HR tomorrow to update them. I feel like an idiot for believing her when she was apologetic and embarrassed. Commenter 2. Report her, and this time ask for an investigation. She is a malicious commenter. 3. At first, it might have felt like a gray area, but now it's clear she has a history and intention that goes beyond a harmless mistake. Reporting her was the right move to protect yourself and your work environment. Commenter 4. She's also now bad-mouthing another colleague she has admitted to harassing. Commenter 5. For a fun exercise, imagine if you switched the gender to male. What would you think of this attitude and behavior? Commenter 6. She sounds like the equivalent of a man saying a lesbian just needs to have sex with him to be turned straight. Not okay. Reply. This is the main idea of the comments from the original responses. Every other person said this. I get it that it is an eye-opener for some. However, in absence of what happened today, if it was a man in her place, and I believed it was a misunderstanding, I still wouldn't want to report it. I really don't think this is a gender issue. At this point in her case, it was obviously not a misunderstanding, and I think I did the right thing to report it. Commenter 7. I'm thinking it's an issue of you being naive. No one kisses someone they work with accidentally. Kissing is an intentional action. Stories number 14. My fiancé said he isn't ready to be a dad after I gave birth. I'm Emily, 28F, and my fiancé Daniel, 30M, and I have been together for 6 years. We met in college, started dating right after graduation, and for the most part, things have been solid. We got engaged last year, after talking for years about marriage and kids. I always thought he'd be a great dad. He's always been the kind of guy who makes friends with random toddlers at the park or plays uncle to his buddies' kids when I got pregnant. Unplanned, but very much wanted. He stepped up in all the ways I thought mattered. He came to ultrasounds, read parenting books, rubbed my back when I was nauseous. He told me countless times that he was ready, that he was excited, that he couldn't wait to meet our little peanut. He even joked about buying a One Dad mug before the baby was born. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago, I had a C-section. It wasn't an easy birth, but our baby boy Noah came out healthy. Those first days in the hospital, I thought we were going to be okay. Daniel was holding him, taking pictures, telling me how proud he was. He was posting proud dad captions on Facebook. But the second we came home, it all shifted suddenly. The crying was too much. Daniel started sleeping in the guest room after the first night home because, according to him, he couldn't function without sleep. He's been going to the gym every morning like usual, still, seeing his friends on weekends, and yes, still playing hours of video games every night. Meanwhile, I'm up every 2 hours breastfeeding, still bleeding from surgery, trying to figure out how to swaddle, and just desperately wishing I had a partner instead of a roommate yesterday. It came to a head. I asked him if he could at least change one diaper while I pumped, and he flat out said, "I didn't sign up to lose myself. I'm not sure I'm cut out to be a dad. My life feels like it's over." I swear, I just froze. This is the man I've built a life with. The man who promised me we were in this together. And now, when I literally need him most, he's telling me he's not ready, that he feels trapped. It felt like a betrayal of the deepest kind. I told him I felt abandoned, and he said I was being dramatic, because he still provides financially and needs his outlets. But what good is money if I'm running myself into the ground alone? I've barely showered, my scar still hurts, and the one person I thought would have my back is basically opting out. The worst part? I keep thinking he waited until I couldn't leave, until I was sleep-deprived, recovering from major surgery, and tethered to a newborn, to tell me how he really feels. Like he pulled the rug out from under me. I don't know what to do. We're not married yet, thank God, but we are engaged, living together, and now tied forever through our son. Part of me wants to scream at him. Part of me wants to beg him to go to therapy. And part of me just wants to pack Noah up and leave, because the idea of doing this half-in, half-out thing makes me feel sick. I guess I'm asking, has anyone else dealt with this? Is this just fear and adjustment on his part? Or is this who he really is now that the baby is here? I feel so alone. Comments. Commenter. Your fiancé is going to the gym, hanging out with his friends and playing video games while you're 3 weeks postpartum? And on top of that, he hasn't changed a single diaper? He's trash. Genuinely. There aren't words for how pathetic of a father and partner he is. Please, please, please don't marry him. Commenter. 2. I'd lay it down now. You can't make this man be a dad. He needs to go to therapy to deal, or you go personally as a dad. I'd separate and file for child support. I don't know. I'd even do visitation because I couldn't trust my kid's safety. He's a total asshole. And I'm sorry. Being a dad has been the best part of my life. Commenter 3. Are you ready for divorce? Are you ready for child support and weekend visitations without me doing all the work? Because I'm not ready to be a single mom to 2 children. Commenter 4. He has been tested, and he has failed. Unless a miracle happens, you two are not going to be together a year from now. Stories number 15. Having to menstruate every month is, honestly insulting. It makes no sense from a biological standpoint to have a heat cycle every single month. It's such a waste of resources. And any other condition that cripples half of society for 25% of the month would be considered a dire emergency. It is so violently unfair that I have to spend a few days, a week, vomiting and bedridden from agony every single fucking month for 40-50 years simply because I was born with a uterus. Why am I being punished for avoiding pregnancy? Jesus fuck, what would it be like to not have to deal with debilitating agony every single month? Imagine having a penis instead. You get to just live your life, not a care in the world, your body never betraying you and self-destructing this way, never having anyone look down on you for having the audacity to be in pain from a biological condition that we didn't ask for. I'm currently bedridden, once again, because my cramps got so bad that the entire right side of my body seized. No amount of painkillers is touching this. My body is just trying to destroy itself from the inside out, throwing a tantrum because I had the nerve to not be pregnant for the 20th year in a row. Like, girl, you keep setting up the nursery without asking me, and I tell you every time I don't want it. Get the fuck over yourself and cut the crap. You don't get to ruin my life every single fucking month because I dodged a sperm bomb. This is ridiculous. It's insane. And I have shit to do. Throw your tantrum somewhere else. Thank you. Comments. Commenter. 1. I say this shit every month and mine aren't even as bad as yours. I feel you and I'm so sorry we gotta go through it. On a side note though, your symptoms sound extreme. I might get checked out by a doc if you haven't already. Talk about BC options that can stop your period too. Just a thought. Commenter. 2. It sounds like you have severe end, which I know is a fucking pain to try to get diagnosed and treated, since the only way to diagnose it is to cut you open and physically look for it. But you can still seek help for these horrible symptoms. It sucks to suffer so much every month for fucking decades. Good luck, OP. Commenter. 3. I'm sorry, but were you getting checked for endometriosis? I'm a woman, and even though I can feel some pain during periods, it never gets to such a level. Sorry, but I think you're dealing with something much more serious than just cramps. Please, see a doctor. Commenter. 4. I take continuous birth control pills because I can't handle having a period, and aside from occasional spotting it works fine. Stories. Number 16. AITA for telling my friend's fiancé to F off when he complained about them using my recipe. I F30 love to cook. I love finding recipes to try as well as just throwing things together and tweaking it until it's right. A lot of my friends actually have notebooks just for my recipes, as well as how they changed it to either fit their tastes, diet requirements, what they had on hand, etc. Basically, we just swapped notes and pictures of finished meals back and forth as often as possible. Everyone says my specialty is pasta dishes, relevant to post. A little over a year ago, I met someone by 29 who loved cooking and kitchen experiments as much as I do. We quickly became best friends, and most of our message logs are just food pics and the recipe used or talking about what we got on sale at various markets. They sadly moved across the country to be with their fiancé a couple months later, so we try to call, FaceTime as often as possible. Their fiancé M28 and I exchange messages once in a while, as he also likes to cook. But it's clear we're simply polite and civil. No dislike of each other, but simply put, we're not friend material. A few days ago, my friend messaged me and asked, how can I get rid of a pack of bacon, half a box of pasta, various peppers, and several partial bags of pre-shredded cheese before they expire? I asked for specifics, brands, types, amounts of each thing, and whipped up a quick cheesy pasta pan-made dish. I then took notes for cooking times, as well as which seasonings, amounts I used, and left it at that. As always, I added the disclaimer of course, do what you want with it. This is just the basic outcome of ingredients listed. Tonight, my friend FaceTimed me as they made the recipe and showed me what they added to it, in addition to the basics, and the call lasted until they were about to sit down to eat. They were over the moon excited to show me as I am the god of pasta, so my approval means a lot. However, the conversation got derailed when the fiancé loudly expressed his annoyance of eating cheese for the 3rd time this week and refused to eat even a single bite. My friend, clearly hurt, argued that the cheese was going to expire, so had to be used. 2. He knew what they were making and said it sounded good. 3. Could have asked the cheese not be added to the main dish, and 4. Could have cooked his own meal. The call cut off at that point a couple hours later. My friend texted me to apologize for their fiancé's behavior and to tell me that they, as well as their co-workers, loved the meal. After the fight, my friend took the meal to a co-worker's house to get space. A few minutes after that, the fiancé called me and I answered, figuring he was going to apologize like any sane person would. Instead, he proceeded to chew me out and say how sick he was of eating cheese. I let him have his say for about 30 seconds and simply told him to F all the way off. He hung up and that was that. My friend says I did the right thing. Comments. Commenter. 1. Your friend was right. NTA, that guy has issues. As if you controlled his damn diet. Reply. Right? I have mild lactose issues. So yeah, if I was expected eat cheese heavy meals 3 times a week, I'd likely grumble about it. But guess what? I wouldn't take it out on someone who just shared the damn recipe. I would also either ask that the chef holds the cheese for my servings if possible, or would simply make my own damn food. Commenter. 2. I have a feeling it's not about the Iranian yogurt, OP. It never is. Is it possible your friend may like you? Or that their fiancé thinks they like you? It feels like it's just a projection of his jealousy or something else going on behind the scenes. But you're definitely NTA either way. Next time, feel free to offer him the pic of one of your finest cacti that he may go fuck himself with. Repeatedly, and with a lemon juice bath to follow. Reply. The thing is, they are in an open relationship, so my friend potentially liking me should be okay, not his first time spitting the dummy with me. So yeah, something has to give. Commenter 3, NTA damn. How hard is it for him to say, "Hey, do you mind making my portion without cheese?" Even my small kids can verbalize this when we're cooking together. He was right there as she was making it and already knew what all the ingredients were. He sounds like a whiner. Good on you for telling him to fuck off. Awesome the way you and your friends share fave recipes. Reply, right? My friend household literally take votes on what is cooked so that way everyone gets what they want. Yeah, I enjoy recipe swaps. One of my friends is trying to publish a cookbook and promised me a cut of money if I let her include mine. Commenter 4. I'm so confused how you even got involved in his issue. How is it your problem if he doesn't like the food his fiancée made? She's 100% correct on all her points, but it's so weird for him to bring it up to you, a third party, at all. Stories number 17, AITA for changing my mind about my wife being a SAHM, since she changed the terms. I, 35N, have been with my wife Ali, 37F, for 2 years. Married for 1, and we are expecting our first child together in a few months. I also have 2 children, 8M and 6F, from a previous relationship with Alex, 32F. And we have 50-50 custody. However, Alex travels a lot for work, so we have the kids more than that most of the time. So we get child support from her. Before we got married, Ali and I spoke extensively about what we wanted, and she was adamant about being a stay-at-home mom. I was upfront with her that I was fine with that. We'd be able to afford it, but she would need to be a SAHM for all of the kids to be able to make it work. She agreed happily, so as you can probably predict, she sat me down the other day and told me that she wants, at minimum, her first year as a mom, to only be a SAHM to our shared baby. She said after that she can help out more with the other kids, but wants to protect her first-time motherhood, and said it's her #1 boundary. I told her that would no longer work. Then, I couldn't support a family of 5 on just my salary, without help with all of the kids. She said I needed to figure it out and respect her boundaries, but this simply won't be possible. We have family to help for sure, but she's saying she doesn't want to be responsible for the older kids at all the first year. Also, we want at least 1 more child, and I'm now worried she'll try to extend the year with another baby. She's incredibly hurt and angry, but I don't think it would even be possible to respect her boundaries. So would I be the asshole for reneging on my promise to let her be a stay-at-home mom? Quick edit. My ex-wife will be keeping the kids for 2 weeks after birth, and has been able to be assured she wouldn't travel for that first month of emergencies come up. I am also paying the person I currently am who picks up, watches, drops off, etc. the kids before and after school an additional 4 weeks after Alex already has them, for 6 full weeks off from any older kid duties for Ali relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Your kids are in school most of the day. MF. I'd assume. That gives her 9 months to have the days with her baby, and evenings and weekends she'll have your help. But I'm more concerned about the dynamic she's setting up, her baby versus your kids. Your children will feel this dynamic very deeply, if they don't already. She will make them feel like outsiders in their own home. She will make them feel like this baby isn't really their real sibling. This has disaster written all over it, and you need to shut this down immediately. You're headed for another divorce. I'm afraid her mask has slipped. Reply. I agree, and it's so far out of left field. She loves the kids and they love her. She always loves doing things with them and planning activities. I wouldn't have married her if she didn't like Rem. Commenter 2. NTA. Aren't the older 2 in school? So realistically, she would have the entire school day just her and the baby. She's being ridiculous. She can either enjoy several hours each day alone with her kid and parent her stepchildren after school as agreed, or she can put her baby in daycare and miss out on all those hours while she gets a job. Reply. Yes, but they'd need to be taken to and picked up from school, taken to their activities while I'm at work. I currently pay somebody to do this, but with a new baby and without her salary I won't be able to edit. Stop asking about buses. This is a private school. No buses, last edit. X pays for the school tuition, and I would never take my kids out of a school they love just so she could be a stay-at-home mom to 1 out of 3 kids. Commenter 3. She needs to see the math and know that what she wants is not possible. She also needs a dictionary because that not a boundary, it's a demand. A boundary is not something that can dictate anyone else's behavior. Reply. Yes, I have shown her the numbers, but she wants me to make it work. OP on Allie's ideal. Plan for being a SAHM and not taking care of the older kids. Reply. She doesn't want to do any child care for the older kids for a year. She is getting 6 full weeks off from it after birth. But after that, yes, doctor's visits, school pickup and drop-off, and child care during and between those times. I am expecting her to do. P shared his thoughts and options he has given Allie. Reply. Yeah, I've basically confronted her and told her that her options are, she keeps working. I'm willing to support her for her 12 weeks of unpaid FMLA, but after that the baby would go to the not free but heavily subsidized daycare on-site at my work, and everything else stays the same. She doesn't go back to work, and we continue paying the nanny who takes the kids to picks up and watches the kids after school. However, this will take up all of her fun money I have allocated in our new budget. Right now she waits tables some weekends and evenings to make extra money. I'm fine with her continuing to do that, to make money for the extra stuff she wants to buy, thanks to all the comments on Reddit. I told her I'm not longer comfortable with the idea of her being a SAHM to my kids. She can work on rebuilding that, and I know my kids still love her, but a lot of comments opened my eyes. She's completely devastated, and even tried arguing that I should stop putting money into my kids' college funds so as not to take away her fun money, or even more deranged, asking my ex-wife to take the kids out of their private school to save the money we pay towards it, uniforms and activities. Just the idea of asking that from my ex is insane. So she's currently being pretty cold towards me. Not the kids, though, and I'm just so over it. We have a therapist appointment Tuesday, so hopefully that will help, but she's really fucked with my trust in her. With this additional information from OP, just a quick note. Alex pays me child support. She makes quite a bit more, and since she travels so much, I always agree to have the kids if she's not in town. During her parenting time, once or twice, I haven't been able to, so either her husband or my parents haven't taken them update, AITA, for changing my mind about my wife being a SAHM, because she changed the terms? I posted on another sub, but they locked and removed it for violating a rule that honestly I don't think it did. So YOLO, you can find the other post on my profile. But the gift of it is that my wife Allie and I had multiple discussions about her being a SAHM to our future kids in addition to my 2 kids from my previous marriage to Alex. However, she recently told me that she wanted the first year of our upcoming baby's life to be just a SAM to the baby, and I told her that wouldn't work for me or our budget. I talked to Allie and laid everything out. I told her that her demands were out of line and incredibly entitled, and that if she insisted on keeping them, I was no longer comfortable with her quitting her job and would not support it. Further, 2 weeks without my kids was ridiculous, so I told her that if she went into labor during our custody time, my parents would have the older kids when we were in the hospital, but I am not longer comfortable sending my kids away to their moms for 2 weeks. Other families don't normally do that, and I would not either, but for the first 2 months of us having the baby, I would keep paying the nanny and take care of the older kids' things, which is longer than I had originally agreed. Honestly, it was also more than she'd even originally agreed to, so I thought it was a fair compromise. She lost her mind and flipped out at me, told me that I wasn't respecting her first-time motherhood, WTF, and that she shouldn't have to care for kids I didn't give birth to for the first year of her baby's life. I was honestly over it at this point and done arguing. I told her she needed to check herself and that none of this was new or a surprise. If she didn't want to do it, she shouldn't have agreed to it, and her being a stay-at-home mom was off the table. To be clear, I know I could make it work with just my salary, but it would mean taking the funds I would allocate towards her fun money for things like shoeing, self-care, etc., and I'm not comfortable telling an adult dependent on me financially that she couldn't have a choice for fun money. I showed her the budget, which backfired because she said that I didn't need to defund her fun money, and gave me a few solutions, which were, take the older kids out of private school, and ask my ex to give us that money in child support instead. Stop putting money into my older kids' college fund. Selling my boat. Those were her solutions. None of which have her sacrificing anything. Only me and or my kids, and the first one was so unreasonable I could only imagine how that conversation with my ex would go. She'd laugh me out of the country. Lol, I told Allie all of that was unreasonable and a non-starter, and honestly just made me see where her priorities are, so yeah. I told her that if she couldn't agree to common-sense compromises, I could no longer trust her to be a SAHM to our older kids, that there was zero daylight in how much I cared about my older kids versus our shared baby and had to protect them both. Equally, the fact that she thought it was reasonable to stop saving for my older kids' college while still giving her money for Botox and highlights showed me where her priorities would lie if she no longer brought in income. I said I was no longer comfortable with her quitting her job, and that since my work has not free but heavily reduced daycare on site, that would be the best option for our family after her FMLA leave. She doesn't get paid maternity leave, just unpaid up to 3 months, which will be fine. She's devastated and being cold towards me, but surprisingly not my kids, which is good. I don't want to kill her dreams of being a SAHM, but I can't work with someone who refuses to be reasonable. We discussed it with our therapist last week, who wasn't exactly on my side obviously but was trying to point out the unfairness, and she just keeps saying she needs me to prioritize her needs and boundaries. The therapist even tried explaining that these are not boundaries, but she's not listening. So in summary, I tried reasoning with my wife. She tried convincing me to stop saving for college for the older kids to pay for their nanny, so she could only be a SAHM to our shared baby. And I told her I no longer thought it would work for her to be a SAHM. She's devastated, but we're working it out with our therapist. And I'm hoping this is all just hormones edit. To add one quick thing. I've known Allie since freshman year. Biology. We never dated until a few years ago, but we've always remained friends. I have known her. And this behavior is all so new. She loved being a bonus mom, would be excited for the kids to come over for extra time, and would even ask me to ask my ex if she could have them randomly if she wanted to take a day off and go swimming or to the zoo or something. I've asked her for all to her doctor about this, and she's yelled at me about it. I have no clue to what to do. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Please go see a lawyer and figure out how to protect you, and maybe making other college funds into a trust, so can't be touched, etc. She is going to stay home with the baby no matter what, and will start rejecting your bio kids when she doesn't get her way. Reply. My kids' college and savings are in trusts. We had a prenuptial agreement as well, so I'm not too worried about. Commenter 2. Looks like divorce number 2 is fast approaching. Reply. I'm hoping to avoid that. She's never been like this, and it's so far out the norm. I even asked her to talk to her doctor about it, but she thinks she's just being reasonable and setting boundaries. Commenter 3. Please check in with your older children regularly to ensure that her behavior towards them has not changed when you are not present. Reply. That's the thing, she's still wonderful to them. They see a therapist as well, just monthly. You know, since the divorce we wanted to make sure they were okay, and it's like when they're not around she's a different person. It's hard to explain how it's such a reversal to people that don't know her. But she was so lovely with them until she got pregnant. Commenter 4. NTA. I have a blended family. Have a baby and 2 stepdaughters with my husband. Not even for 1 minute after I gave birth did I bar my stepdaughters from being here, or would ever do so. This is as much their home as it is mine. My son's. She is being very unreasonable. You are offering viable common-sense solutions, and honestly being very generous with fun money. I've never been a SAHM, but I would be gracious. I hope for your sake. This is just hormones, but I'm also pregnant and know when my hormones are getting the best of me. Hope you guys work this out. She sounds very selfish. When you marry someone with children, you kind of lose the option to be a one-child parent. Your first go-round. She should take your feelings and care for your older children as a good sign that her baby will be well cared for by you. Reply. This is how she used to talk. She is weirdly still excited about the kids meeting the new baby, but keeps talking about bizarre boundaries. You seem like a good stepmom. I know it's probably not an easy thing, and I tell her that all the time. Luckily, our blended family has had no drama. Until this, my ex and her husband have been very supportive of us having more kids and have been willing to help, but she keeps saying they need to do more. Commenter 5. What is the compromise you are willing to make for your wife so she can have your baby and have some bonding time with the three of you? Seem very intent on not making any compromises. Reply. I have made many. I fund much more of our life. I'll be cutting my own spending money and have been since we found out we're expecting. And have quit 2 hobbies of mine due to the money and time commitment. What more do you want me to do, other than apparently stop caring for my older children? Commenter 6. I don't think this is a matter of putting her first above your kids. I would never put my new partner above my kids. But the truth is my partner has a kid and he is not responsible for my kids. He gets along with them and loves them, but it simply isn't close to how he loves his kid. The ferocity of feelings about a new baby is intense. That's why I try to offer insight into what she is thinking and feeling again. I am not saying the solution is to not save for your kids' college. That's not my point. My point is, she is looking at a situation of being the only mom to a baby. That's something you can sympathize with, and that sympathy might help her feel like you understand she is going to be a SAHM to 3 kids, which is more than most first-time moms have to deal with. You chose to have another family, so the demands are more on you. How can you force her to work? How would that realistically happen? Use your paternity leave to take in the brunt of the caretaking for your kids before you go back to work. What does her being a SAHM to your kids look like? They are older and more independent. But does she have to drive them around? Prepare meals? Perhaps there are ways you can help that feel less overwhelming. Maybe you meal prep on the weekends, so dinner isn't overwhelming. This kind of stuff. Reply. That's the thing. She doesn't want me to focus on the older kids when I'm on pat leave. She wants me to only focus on her, which is why she doesn't want them here. Obviously, I would be here for her and the baby, but that request is outlandish. I've already outlined what being a SAM to all 3 kids would look like, numerous times. But yes, it would involve transportation when I'm working. We split cooking pretty equally and I like cooking, so that wouldn't have been an issue. I also do most of the cleaning of the house. It doesn't matter, because the option for her to be a SAHM is off the table due to her antics. She's broken my trust. I know I can't force her to work realistically, but if she were to quit her job without us coming to an agreement, I would be filing for divorce. She's already broken my trust, but that would 100% destroy it. Stories number 18. Is it normal for your GF not to be curious? Is this just how girls are? So my girlfriend and I have been together for a few years now, and it feels like we're getting to the stage where the relationship should kind of take the next step. One thing that's really starting to annoy me, though, is that she just isn't a curious person. I don't think she's rude or means anything badly by it, but here's an example. Yesterday I shared a memory I had from when I was 10 years old. It came back to me when I saw a dog, because when I was a kid, a dog attacked my friend and I sort of fended it off. I thought it was a cool story to share, and all she said was, "Oh, wow, you're old now," because I said it was like 25 years ago. That was it. She meant it as a joke, but it still kinda annoyed me, and it's not just once. If I tell her a memory, a thought, something interesting I've learned, or even just stuff about my workday, she usually just responds with something like, "Oh yeah, true," or "That's cool." Never really asks follow-up questions. I know she doesn't mean it in a bad way, but it kind of makes me feel intellectually shut down. I actually did mention to her a while ago saying how I feel like you're not really interested in what I say, because you don't ask questions. She got defensive about it. I'm a naturally curious, questioning, reflective type of person. I like having conversations where someone shows interest, even if it's just a few thoughtful questions back. It doesn't have to be deep all the time, but I want to feel like my partner is engaged and curious about me and about the world. So I'm wondering, am I expecting too much here? Is this just a personality mismatch I need to accept? Comments. Commenter 1. Dude, trust me, this shit doesn't get more tolerable over time. It gets worse and can start to eat at your self-worth. You either get really good at not feeling hurt by it and super secure in yourself, or you start to feel like shit. Eventually, any form of interest you get from anybody starts to feel so good that you'll find yourself catching feelings for anyone who expresses even mild interest in you. It can kill relationships if you are not 100% secure and self-assured. You're in for a rough ride. Commenter 2by+ man. As an old guy who has lived with a woman like this for way too many years, if you want to be a husk of yourself after 25 years of marriage, just stick with her. You'll eventually just give up talking to her about anything, and eventually she'll wonder why you never talk to her anymore, and you'll shrug and say, you guess you are just an introvert, and wonder if there is anyone out there that would enjoy your company, or you are just the most uninteresting person. Around commenter 3, no, you're not expecting too much by wishing your girlfriend would show interest or want to connect with you. It sounds like instead of the relationship taking the next step, it's slowing down. Commenter 4. It's not women in general, it's just the one you're with. It's a mismatch, and I think just accepting it would be a mistake. It's enough of a mismatch that I'd call it incompatible. She can find a guy who's not curious either, and they can live happy, fulfilling lives, thinking about sport, ball and nails or something. You can find someone who is engaged with the world around her, and the two of you can have a good life together. Stories, number 19. A man came up to me and said he was my father, but I already know who my dad is, or do I? What should I do? Is he a scam artist? He claims that he was married to my mom before my dad, and she left him for my dad. He says this happened while she was pregnant with me, and she put my dad on the birth certificate, and they, my parents and grandfather, used their power and money to make sure he couldn't stay in contact with me. He also claims when I was 5 he tried again, and my dad broke his fingers. He says he is just now contacting me because with my granddad's tragic death last year it's safe now. Issues with this story. He had no documentation, although he promised to show me some, and suggested he bring it by my apartment that he knows the location of. I am 20. Why now? My dad is a non-violent man. I can't see him breaking anyone's fingers. He never spanked me when I was a kid, and was always the pushover parent. My granddad traded stocks. He was hardly a mafia kingpin. My parents were childhood sweethearts, and are still crazy about each other in addition to being decent people. He also kept commenting on my money, saying I looked like a banker in jeans and a button-up, asking if my dad gave me my watch and how much my bike cost. He did tell me his name and his number and show his license, and I am considering running a background check. But my parents see my expenses in his favor. I look like him. I've never seen my parents' wedding pictures. He didn't seem insane. He knew a lot of information that would be hard to find about my family. He mentioned a coat I had as a kid. I am an only child. My mom said that they never got so lucky as to have another. I don't know. I would usually ask my parents, but my mom just got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I don't want to worry her or my dad that some Pisco is trying to swindle me or harass or harm. Metal DR man says he is my father. My dad has always been in my life and presumed to be my bio dad. Could this be a scam? How should I check it out? My parents are going through a crisis, so I'd rather avoid bothering them. Edit. One I called my real dad first, deciding that he was a better call than fake dad or the cops until I accessed the situation. I asked if he knew name. He responded by asking if I was at my apartment. When I said yes, he said he'd be here in half an hour. Shit, this isn't good. Edit. 2 He is my biological father. My dad and my mom showed up. He said it was more her story than his. Apparently when they were married he was abusive. When she told him she filed for divorce, he pushed her down the stairs and she had to be hospitalized. She decides promptly that he will never get near enough to hurt her child. Her childhood best friend offers to marry her. This is all pretty convoluted. My life and parents are a lot different than they were this morning. What happened after your parents came? I opened the door. I was surprised to see my mom, although I should have known he wouldn't come alone, both because that's not how they do things, and because on Tuesdays at that time, he is usually home between business and racquetball. We greet. My mom hugs me. My dad just puts his hand on my cheek and says that I'm everything he could want in a son. I say so. Who is name? My mom says I'll start at the beginning. I met him when I was 19. He was a moody violinist, and it seemed the right amount of rebellion to fall in love with him. I was hardly the type to date a drummer, and then it unfolded by the end. Me and my mom are crying. My dad is holding her arm. And I don't know why this bothered me, but I asked if they were in love. My dad said, I've loved your mother since I was 5 years old. But we're both so stubborn, it may have taken us 40 years to realize it if we hadn't become a family to protect you. We were going to get a divorce when you were 2. But we were so happy neither of us brought it up. Then we all laughed a little and I'm heading there for dinner in a few hours. It's a screwed up situation, but my family is still my family, and I'm a lucky guy. Did your dad break his finger? Yes. My dad said when I was little, my mom caught him watching us in the park and promptly ushered me into the car. He came to the apartment and she went down to the lobby. He cornered her and when his charm, I gave you such a fine son. He's got my looks, doesn't he? I think the least you owe me is a few hours. Grabbed her leaving bruises and had to be escorted out by security. He was waiting for my dad outside his office the next day. My dad is angry but listens to him go on. Give a man enough rope to hang himself, he always says. Then he mentions money. He's been deprived of his son. If this continues, reparation only seems fair. My dad decided that you can't stalk his family and shake around his wife with loose threats. So, he grabs his hand and twists it until it breaks, telling him that the next time will be his bow hand, and he will never give him a dime or let him ruin his son. How did your parents marry? My parents claim they married as friends to give me a name other than his, and a father to make it difficult, should the abusive ass ever attempt to use me as leverage. Then they fell in love. Originally, they planned to divorce after a respectable time frame, but they found marriage suited them. How are you parents now? They've always been best friends. There's a picture on our mantel of them at 5 years old. Their nannies used to let them play together. They were never romantic, they both claimed. My mom says her father was so severe and unemotional that she never would have risked the person closest to her for mere dating. Then they got married to protect me and they're madly in love. They have lunch together every day. I remember as a kid being embarrassed by how much they touched. That during a sleepover we'd walk out and they'd just be reading with his head in her lap. They're very happy. Honestly, this story seems completely out of nature for him. He's really mild-mannered, never raised a hand to me. My mom is the more serious partner. Why no half-siblings? My dad is infertile. They tried for years to have another baby and it never happened. How do you fairly consider both sides when there's strong emotional and physical evidence of abuse? Honestly, this makes sense. It explains the situation. And my mom to an extent, who spends so much time volunteering with domestic abuse charities also. You can't fake emotion. We were all practically crying by the end plus. He was imprisoned briefly for this. And my mom has scars from where she had to have surgery on her leg. Update 1. My question got an amazing amount of replies, and I appreciate it. So, not being an ass, I decided to give a final update before I go back to my usual account. After a lot of thought, I've decided that, all issues aside, I simply have no interest in this man who has my jaw and some shared DNA. I'm a junior at NYU doing a dual major and overload this sem. Between that and lining up internships, I barely have time to sleep. I have a great family, and couldn't ask for better. I was never that kid who wished his parents were anyone else. Except maybe Batman when I was 9. I wish I had more time for them. Then once a week dinner and phone calls. I don't wish I had some extra father figure, and I've got enough friends. If he were a decent man, I might feel like I owe it to him. But considering the fact that his actions resulted in this, and if my mom had stayed, I would have been raised in an abusive home, likely abused myself. I don't feel bad about this. Just relieved. I also for those who are worried about any possible truth from fake real dad. I asked my dad if I could see any of the paperwork on my bio dad, to assuage curiosity. He assuaged my curiosity. The divorce papers were in there, the restraining order, and even pictures of my mom after he shoved her. Yeah, he's in scumbag. He was waiting at my usual coffee shop today. We'll find a new one, and basically was pushy and an ass. He never once admitted any kind of wrongdoing or anything. I ended the conversation by saying, "Thank you for contacting me, but I am happy in life right now. If I ever change my mind, I will contact you." He then got this weird look of outraged dignity and said that I was an ungrateful little bastard, and that if we're richer than my dad, I'd be on my knees. Then he said that without him I wouldn't exist, Said I was his only son, and he wished he didn't have one. Hell, he wished he didn't have a daughter as she was just as ungrateful. He said a lot more, but that's the gist. I have a dad. It's not this joker. I may look up the sister at some point in the future when I have the time and mindset to explore. That although, she's probably just a kiddle dr. No interest in forming relationship with bio dad, due to his past acts, satisfying proof seen I also don't feel obligated. He stalked me today and confirmed this. Oh, and I have a sister about UP's safety. Unfortunately, I think the best thing if for me to take up my dad's offer of a car and driver. Until all of this settles, I will also be moving into a rental property we own, because it has tighter access. Aya Dorman has to admit I honestly should have been in a nicer apartment anyways. Just on the off chance someone finds out my parents' worth, and thinks my place would be nice to case, about sister. Yeah, I won't contact him about it. I'll have a routine background check and she should show up. I honestly don't know what to do about it, or how to go about it. What if her life is horrible? I don't really have any power to change it. What if she's like 8 and lives across the country? It seems doubtful we'd connect on any meaningful level. I can only assume she has a caregiver and hope it's a good one. Honestly, contact from me won't do much if she was in a bad situation. I'm a 20-year-old kid whose income until my first trust opens is entirely dependent on my parents, and I'm not even legally her brother. It's all word of mouth. I guess the main point is, I see no need to rush. Even if she's in a less than tenable place, there's little I can do to change anything, although I can't help but feel horrible when I think of the pictures of my mom I saw. Her face bloodied from his hands, and her body bruised because he shoved her down the stairs, and feel bad for any kid he raised. About bio father. I'm dismissing my biological father because he's an abusive ass. He pushed my mom down a flight of stairs. While pregnant after he knocked her around a little, she still has a slight limp. To me, that's unforgivable. To me, shared experiences are what bond people anyways. That's why I love my parents. Not because of money of blood. I have no interest in a relationship with him. If he hadn't been abusive, we would have had an obligated lunch, but I still wouldn't truly want to form a relationship. I would just feel obligated to this stranger. I just don't want to start something until I've considered the implications. This could be just as negative in the girl's life as it could be positive. It's also possible that she might be in contact with my bio dad who I want nothing to do with. Let me adjust your facts. Bio dad did not live near poverty line. He was middle class. An amazing violinist who taught in the city and did very well. Also, my mom had access to her trust fund during the marriage and contributed a large amount into household income. Their marriage lasted 2 years, not counting the separation. Records of hospitalization go back close to the beginning. The pictures of after the final incident have her with black eyes. Odd in an accidental shove. Final update. 6 months later. Update. I'm not sure anyone remembers this, but about 6 months ago a stranger approached me on the street. I found out my dad wasn't my bio father. Today I met my sister. I took some time, but eventually curiosity got the best of me. She's 17 with a 5-month-old, and her background is completely different than mine. We corresponded a little on the internet, but met today. I drove 2 hours. She seemed like a nice girl, but I didn't feel like any, wow, we are related moment or strong sense of kinship. Maybe I don't know how siblings are supposed to feel. I don't know. Mostly it was awkward. Me and 17-year-old girls don't have a lot in common. She said I reminded her of someone on Gossip Girls and owned Justin Bieber CDs, but she did reinforce my belief that I'm doing right by not connecting with the bio dad. He hasn't seen her son and hasn't contacted her in a year. Just wanted to let those of you who helped me out last year know thanks guys. Meeting half-sister. I'm a whole 21 years old now. Fall of vain wisdom and false prophecy, I guess. It's not just age, although I am the youngest in my friend group, but upbringing. Too, she's uninformed about so much. She was giving her son Kool-Aid, and I had to bite my tongue and kept swatting his hand to keep him from thumb-sucking. She's also really into YOLO and partying and baby mama drama. She was nice, just really different. Stories. Number 20, AITA, for turning down any and all requests to help with my disabled half-sibling. My 20M parents had me really early, like high school seniors early. So as you can imagine, the whole thing wasn't really the best situation for anyone involved. But with some very limited help from grandparents, we survived and later lived some very happy years as a family, once they matured a bit and got the hang of things until eventually my dad passed away when I turned 15 in an accident. Fast forward to last year, Mom remarried and got pregnant soon after, and the kid was born early this year, same month as me. The kid was unfortunately born with some disabilities that require special care. I was there for the birth and about 2 days and after that. Have only been home from college once, and I stayed in a hotel because I hate crying and screaming noises. So I just hung out with them during the day, and some friends and cousins at night. I go to college in NY and family lives down in FL, and I usually only visit once or twice a year. We started having problems when planning Christmas and New Year's, which is usually the time I am home, arrive on the 23rd and stay till the 3rd. When discussing it this year, Mom started sending me articles, books, and social media posts about the care a child like the baby requires. I asked why she was sending that to me, and she got a bit defensive and just dismissed it as, just in case. I tried shutting her down right there, saying that she has a husband, just in case, and if they're both out of the picture, the kid has grandparents that are already used to helping, and that I sincerely doubt there will be a situation where both parents and all 4 grandparents will be unavailable to help. But this turned into a whole thing. She would not stop sending these things for weeks and asking if I read them and then fought me if I said no. She eventually admitted she expected me to help, so she and her husband could have a break and some quality time during the holidays and whenever I visited. So she involved my grandparents, who called me more than once, her husband, who also texted me several times. And it was all the same, family helps family. She is your sister. You have to act like part of the family. And eventually she just let it all out in the family group chat. That has cousins, uncles, anyone remotely blood-related to us is there. It got to a point where I called her yesterday and just said, I won't be home for Christmas and New Year's this year, and not until you understand that the kid is yours and your husband, not mine, not my problem. It was your choice, your actions, your consequences, just like it was when you had me. The whole family is a mess now. After her husband told his family, who then told my family what happened? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, they are setting you up to take over when they get old and pass away. They are expecting you to care for her now and in the future. You need to let them know that you won't take over for them in the future. Inform them that they need to put a care plan in place now for her. They need to look into respite care. Reply. They are setting you up to take over when they get old and pass away. They are expecting you to care for her now and in the future. I sincerely hope for the kid that they have better planning than dump the kid on the closest blood relative alive and healthy, because that would be some major stupidity. Commenter 2. Suggest a lovely visit to your father's paternal grandparents. Hate to impose on the new family, worst case. Go skiing. Commenter 3. It's really unfair for them to guilt-trip you by saying, family helps family, when you already lived through a rough childhood without your dad and limited support. You stepped up then because you had no choice, but this time you do. They need to lean on the support system they already have in place, not put pressure on you just because it's convenient for them. Commenter 4. This feels a lot like your mom wants you to come home, stay home, and be parent number 3, so they have someone to pawn the baby off onto. Your mom needs to women up and tell the dad to pull his weight, and his grandparents can help too. Every time she sends you stuff for caring for a baby. You should have sent them pamphlets on home care aids and homes that take babies to send her a point so sharp. She stops this. She shouldn't have had a baby if she wasn't ready for the work. Stories. Number 21. Aita. For not inviting my estranged brother to my wedding? My brother 26M and I 31F have been estranged for years. He has always been arrogant, self-absorbed, and unapologetic about past behavior. Growing up, our mother 62F constantly played favorites. He was the golden child, and he thrived in that role. The last time we spoke, we had a major argument. He has never shown any remorse, and I've made peace with not having a relationship with him. I 31F am a foreign MD working in the US and getting married to my American fiancé 33M in early 2026. My family lives in my home country, and so we are finalizing our guest list as it will be a destination wedding. My mother insists on letting my brother come along when she found out that he did not know I was already getting married. She then insisted that I invite him to the wedding. Not sure if this was his or purely her idea, even asking me to provide an invitation letter to help his chances of getting a tourist visa. I respectfully told her no aside from our personal history. The reality is he's still a student with very few ties to home, so I doubt he would even qualify for a visa on his own. My parents, who already have valid visas and have visited me before, offered to be his guarantor, and that my invitation letter would help him out. Personally, I don't want him to have access to me, and I refuse to let him benefit from me. My mom argued that he could stay at a separate hotel, and that she just wanted the whole family together. I explained that I don't feel comfortable with him being at my wedding, and that I don't want to deal with that stress on what should be a special day. I told her that by insisting on his presence, she was only reinforcing my feelings that she prioritizes his feelings over mine. She kept pressing, saying that relatives would talk badly if my brother wasn't invited. I finally told her that if she insisted, then she could also consider herself uninvited. That led to a blow-up where she accused me of being ungrateful. Us Asians are big on indebtedness to family, lol, even reminding me that she and my father helped pay for my exams, expensive as an international medical graduate. She said the least I could do was grant her this one wish. I then exasperatedly told her that I would think about it, AITA, for refusing to invite my brother. Is there a reasonable compromise here, or should I stand my ground? Some of comments. Who is paying for the wedding? Me and my fiancé would be paying for the wedding. No financial help from either of our families. Commenter. There's a lot of cultural stuff here that I'm not sure how to deal with. I know just enough about Asian family culture to know that I don't know enough to comment on it. If you were one of my friends in my culture, the answer would be NTA. So I'm going with that reply. I agree. That's why I chose to seek opinions here on AITA Cross. Posting this to a sub with mostly people from my country would likely invite backlash and pressure me into compromising. Since many there are deeply religious and family-oriented, I really appreciate the validation of my decision. It's difficult to untangle ourselves from cultural influences, but being in the US has definitely opened my eyes. Commenter, NTA, just reimburse her for your testing fees. You will never be out of her debt. Otherwise, the next will be, your brother needs financial help. You need to help him because I spent so much money paying for your exams. Your brother needs a job. Maybe you can help him go to the US. Nip all of this in the bud. You don't have to explain much at the wedding. Brother doesn't have a visa, so he's not here. Reply. Yup, I'm in the process of paying the exam fees back. This whole situation has really opened my eyes to its gravity, and I don't like having that fact constantly dangled over my head. As for the second part about the job, I can absolutely see that happening. And honestly, as the older sibling, I'm exhausted from always being expected to bail out someone who is so blatantly disrespectful and unappreciative every single time. Top commenter. No, you don't think about it. No is no. She doesn't get to hold the exams over your head. That was a decision they made as adults and as your parents. Not leverage so they can boundary stomp you. This is not your mom's day. Who gives a fuck if she just wants her family together? Your wedding isn't about her. She can take it as it is, or leave it. NTA, don't bend. Reply. I agree. I've decided to firmly say no in our next conversation. I don't owe this to her or anyone, and certainly not to the brat she raised. I don't want him creating problems for me, and knowing how spiteful he is, I'm sure he'll find a way to violate the trip and drag me into trouble. Commenter, NTA. If your brother decides to outstay his visum, your parents and you might well be on the hook for fines and whatever else the US governments think is a fitting punishment. Any invites you extend in the future would also be looked at with extra sharp eyes. He doesn't care about that, so the answer is no and no again. Too much risk. Reply. I agree. I remember during my application, they asked whether I had family living in the country, and I think they run background checks. A lot of people from my country tend to overstay, and applications can get denied for far less. Knowing how vindictive he is, I'm certain he'd find a way to get me into trouble. Thanks for the inside update. Just got off the phone with my mother. I respectfully told her that she needs to respect my decision not to bring him around. That if he were genuinely interested in reconciliation, he would have reached out himself, not as a grown man hiding behind his mommy. Thank you, by the way, for helping me realize this. I also made it clear that if she was even considering doing something behind my back, or try to spring a nasty surprise on the day of, I would not hesitate to exclude her entirely. To no one's surprise, this was met with a screaming match followed by the classic religious guilt trip. Do you want an awful marriage? How can it be blessed by God if both parents aren't there to give their blessing? Yada yada. Then came the lecture about what I'd tell my future children if their uncle was out of the picture. Why, and of course, the accusation that living in the US has changed my perspective on family is for my father. I don't think he's aware of all this yet, but I'm sure he'll hear about it soon. Never had an issue with him, though. He's always supported me. Even with being NC with my brother, I know he'd disapprove, but ultimately he would understand. What I expect next is her tried-and-true stonewalling routine. That's fine, I've seen this pattern countless times. Never resolving conflicts, just freezes me out until she feels like pretending nothing happened. Textbook, emotionally immature parent. Even if she decides to patch things up later, it won't be by acknowledging her mistakes, just by softening the silent treatment. And in her eyes, this will always be my wrongdoing. Whatever her refusal to respect my boundaries and her continued treatment of me only confirm what I already know. Going no contact with her is the healthiest choice. I can understand, to an extent, why she favors the younger sibling. There are plenty of factors I've reasoned myself with over the years. He's male, following their footsteps as a lawyer, still lives with them, and his backstory as a child was marked by sickness and multiple brushes with death. So yes, I get the overprotectiveness. But even on our last get-together trip overseas a few years ago, I recall having to consciously remind myself not to roll my eyes every time she babied him into oblivion, as if he isn't a full-grown man when I raised concerns to her about him. And on during one instance, his arrogance and toxic self-centered behavior, she brushed it off, her defense? That he needs to be so-and-so and develop a thick skin because he's in a high-stress, competitive environment. So, aren't doctors also in high-stress environments? Do we all have to behave that way? Cue silence. Of course, I know there are cultural nuances and complexities here, with us being Asian, and a glimpse of our family dynamics that are complicated as all hell, which is why I'm posting from a dump account and why I first tried AITA before Cross. Posting to my home country's version, I have an inkling of what the responses will be, and I suspect they won't line up with what my heart hopes to hear. Lol still, I wanted to gather a more diverse perspective. Thank you for all your insights, and rest assured, on the day of my wedding, there will be plenty of security measures in place. Stories number 22. My disrespectful leech of an internet addict. Brother shut his room door in my face while I was speaking, so I shut the internet off. I pay for the internet, and he pays for nothing in our house. He's 26 meter and he has no job, doesn't go to school full-time, and has internet addiction. To top it off, my single mother is sick of him saying he's going to graduate from his bachelor program in 3 years for the past 4 years. He's taking a decade to do a 4-year program. He contributes nothing to this house. On top of that, he does not answer us when we call him for help, or reply when we speak to him half the time. He makes excuses half the time to not eat with us, not go anywhere with us, not help us when we need help around the house. And worse than this, he speaks in a condescending manner to everyone around him because he uses psychobabble to pretend he knows what he's talking about and act as if he's better than everyone and more knowledgeable. I'm sick of the condescending attitude. I was speaking to him, and instead of answering me, he closed the door of his room, so I went into the app that controls the Wi-Fi and turned off the connections to his devices. He told Mom, and she started screaming at me about how she's losing it because her own kids can't get along, and if she wasn't there, we'd probably murder each other. So now he packed his shit up and left the house and will be living with his friend or with my aunt, who has always enabled him. Out of my hair at last. Stories number 23. My 31F husband, 34M, wants biological children and is acting resentful towards our adopted daughter. How do I fix this? My husband and I adopted a little girl 3 years ago. She is now 6 years old and the brightest ball of sunshine, genuinely sweet and lively. Lately, though, my husband has completely changed in the way he treats her and changed his views on what we initially agreed on. To explain, I have always wanted children, but it was always with adoption in mind. It is not due to infertility. It is just what I wanted to do due to different reasons. I have told my husband as much in the past, and although he didn't understand why at first, he came around to the idea and seemed excited too. So we decided to adopt, and at first, he seemed genuinely happy and was a loving father to her for roughly the past year. Though he has started acting weird. It started with him making comments about how he would like to have biological children. It was never something big, just offhanded, but I still found it weird and told him as much. He stopped doing it. But around the same time, he started acting more dismissive towards our daughter. He stopped spending as much time with her inside, and especially outside of the house, rarely taking her anywhere anymore. And it got so bad that he even dismissed her when she tried to get him to play or spend time with her. I talked to him about it, and he just said he was stressed. It got better for a while, but then the same happened again. And this is how it had been going for the past couple months. So at one point I decided to talk to him, not asking him to do better but just understand what was wrong. He told me that although he loved our daughter, as a man he craved to have his own biological children, and that our daughter is old enough to have a younger sibling now, and that we should try for one. I told him the same thing. I said years ago and several times after that I did not want that, and reminded him that back then he was okay with that too. He said that his bond with our daughter would get stronger if we had a biological child, and I was so incredibly angry and heartbroken. I don't know what to do. I don't want to have another child, and I hate how he treats our daughter. Now I have thought about counseling, but I'm just wondering if anyone else has gone through the same. At the end of the day, I know I'll put my daughter above all else, and seeing how sad she's been lately just breaks my heart. I feel like a complete failure as a mother, and would honestly appreciate any insight from people that have gone through anything like this. Stories number 24. The women are monsters on their period stereotype. Son was at his dad's house a few days ago and came home telling me him and his dad were watching random TikToks together like they like to do. One of them was a man, and his son hiding in a closet, and the dad was acting scared. When the son asked why they had to hide, the dad said because the mom started her period, and he forgot to buy her snacks. My son asked me if this was true, and do women really get angry and scary when they're on their period? Which led to a whole conversation on how we do typically have our moods affected by hormones, and our appetite, etc. But I didn't want him to think we become these horrifying monsters who lash out over food. This is a common theme I've noticed in TV and whatnot. Let me preface this by saying I know it's a joke, but I mean, I'm not sure I like it. Yeah, periods, for a lot of women, are painful and miserable. I know PMDD exists and is debilitating, but I feel like the portrayal of us having to be feared when on them is ridiculous. Almost insulting and being glorified? But maybe I am just overreacting. What are your thoughts on this? Stories. Number 25. My fiancé and I decided to elope. I don't even have the words to express how relieved I am right now. My 30M fiancé 30F feels the same way about our decision. We're going to elope on Monday. No wedding, just signing the papers at City Hall. We both agreed this is the way to go. The day after we got engaged, we called some of our family members to let them know in person. We sent some other family members and some of our friends a message or an email. That same day, people from both my family and my fiancé's family started bombarding us with questions about the wedding, and they wouldn't leave us alone about getting engagement pictures done. We took a selfie together after I proposed, but that wasn't enough. They wanted us to have a formal session with a professional photographer to get multiple photos taken. There was also talk of an engagement party, formal venue, catering, photographer, etc. Plus all kinds of other things leading up to the wedding, like a joint shower and another separate one for my fiancé. There was major pressure for both of us to get social media accounts so we could share news about the wedding with everyone. We had planned to invite no more than 35 people to our wedding, but neither of our family members would leave us alone about expanding the guest list. We wanted to have something low-key, not this over-the-top day our families kept talking about. Both of us have seen the huge weddings our siblings have had and wanted to avoid that. We didn't want to spend a lot of money on a wedding. We would prefer to save it for other things. However, no matter what we said or did, or how many times we said no, or enough, no one would leave it alone. My fiancé and I have decided to elope. We aren't going to tell a single person until afterwards. We are eloping on Monday. We're just going to go to a government building and sign the papers. Then we'll spend a quiet day at home together. We won't tell anyone until the next day. Nothing fancy and no fuss. We are going to be clear with everyone after we announce that we're married, that we don't want any gifts, any parties or receptions or any other wedding stuff. I was so relieved when my fiancé suggested that we elope. The wedding stuff was getting out of control, no matter what we said or how we felt about it. We tried saying no several times, and no one listened or slowed down. If anyone gets upset, it will be their problem. My fiancé and are done with this out-of-control wedding nonsense. There is nothing wrong with having a huge, expensive wedding, if that's what the couple wants. However, it's not what we wanted. If any of my siblings or hers who aren't married want big weddings, that's great. My fiancé and I wanted something small, and neither of us care if anyone gets upset over us eloping update. We did it. We got married on Monday. We went to City Hall, just the two of us. No expensive, over-the-top day like both of our families wanted. We spent the rest of Monday together at home. On Tuesday night, before we both went to work, we sent emails out announcing our marriage. Both of our families are upset. We knew they would be. We were clear this is the end of our wedding saga. We don't want a party, a vow renewal, a reception, or anything else. Wedding-related, me and my wife are done. Now that the big, expensive wedding isn't hanging over our heads, we both feel so much better. It might look wrong that we told our families about our marriage with an email on Tuesday, but since we knew no one would be happy, it felt like the best way for us to announce the news. We did it before we went to work, because neither me or my wife are allowed to have our phones at work. Our phones stay in our lockers until our shifts are over. We didn't want to have to deal with all the anger from our families immediately after our announcement. It was because of our families that we decided to elope. We didn't want a big wedding, we just wanted to be married. Me and my wife chose Monday to elope because it was the soonest we could get married. It was the first day in a while where both of us didn't have to go to work or be on call. I'm a bus driver. My wife is an operating room nurse. We both work rotating shifts. I also showed my wife my original post, and she wanted to thank everyone who sent good wishes to us, stories. Number 26. My wife hangs out drinking with our neighbor until 4 a.m., and I don't know how to feel about it. I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts, but here we are. I guess I need outside perspective, because I don't know if I'm overreacting, underreacting, or just plain losing my mind. So I'm Mark 34M, and my wife is Sarah 32F. We've been married for about 9 years, together even longer. For the most part, our marriage has been good. We have our ups and downs, like anyone. But we've built a nice life together. We bought a modest home in the suburbs a few years back, both work stable jobs, no kids yet. Though we've talked about it, I'll be upfront about one thing. Trust hasn't always been our strongest point. About 8 years ago, when we were still just dating, Sarah cheated on me. It wasn't a long-term affair, more of a fling that happened during a rough patch. She came clean about it, swore it was the biggest mistake of her life, and, after a lot of therapy and tears, I chose to stay. We rebuilt from there. For the most part, she's been solid ever since, but I'd be lying if I said I ever got all the way back to 100% trust. There's always been this little sliver of doubt, tucked in the back of my head, like a scar that healed but never fully faded. Anyway, about a year ago, a new couple moved in next door. Let's call them Jason 38M and Emily 36F. At first it was nice. We'd wave, swap small talk over the fence, have the occasional backyard beer together. I don't drink, so I usually nursed a soda, but I didn't mind hanging out. Then, out of nowhere, Emily left. From what I understand, they divorced pretty quickly. 1 week they were together, the next week her car was gone for good. Jason didn't seem like a bad guy. A little rough around the edges, but friendly enough. That's when things started to shift. Jason leaned heavily on Sarah after the split. At first, it was innocent enough. She'd bring him leftovers if I made too much food, or invite him over to chat on the porch. I didn't think much of it because she's always been nurturing like that, but then it turned into their thing. Once or twice a week, Sarah will stay up drinking. With Jason until 3 or 4 in the morning, I'll head to bed around 10 like I always do. I'm up early for work, and I don't drink. And I'll wake up at 4 a.m. to see she's just crawling into bed smelling like whiskey and cigarettes. And here's the kicker. It's not like this happens when I'm away or traveling. It happens in our own house, or in his backyard. I'll be asleep inside while my wife and our neighbor are sitting outside, laughing over beers, until the sun almost comes up on paper. Maybe that doesn't sound like the end of the world, but when you factor in her past, the cheating, the way I've had to rebuild trust brick by brick, it doesn't sit right with me. Not to mention, alcohol and late-night emotional support talks are usually the first stepping stones to lines being crossed. I've tried to bring it up a few times, but the conversations never go well. The first time, I said something like, "Hey, don't. You think it's kind of weird to be up drinking with Jason until 4 in the morning?" And Sarah just brushed me off with, "He's going through a rough time, Mark. I'm just being a friend. Don't make it into something it's not." The second time, I was a little firmer. I told her it made me uncomfortable given her history, and that it felt like a boundary was being crossed. She got defensive. "So I can't have friends now? You don't drink, you don't stay up late. Sorry, I want a social life outside of you. Are you really going to punish me forever for something I did when I was 24? That one stung because no, I don't want to punish her forever. But also, am I crazy for thinking a married woman shouldn't be knocking back whiskey with the single neighbor until dawn? To be clear, I don't think Jason is a bad guy. He's even come over to use my garage gym a few times, and we've had decent chats about football and work. He doesn't act shady around me, but at the same time, I know how slippery these "we're just friends" situations can be when alcohol and vulnerability are mixed in. I don't want to control Sarah. I don't want to be the jealous husband who dictates who she can or can't hang out with. But I also don't want to ignore a giant red flag waving in my face. Last week was the worst yet. It was a Tuesday night, not a weekend, not a special occasion, just a random Tuesday. I went to bed at 10 as usual. At 3:45 a.m. I woke up because our dog was barking. I looked outside and saw Sarah and Jason on the porch, still drinking, still laughing. I didn't say anything then, but the next morning, when she stumbled into the kitchen half dead from exhaustion, I told her it wasn't okay. She rolled her eyes and said, "God, Mark, you're so uptight. It's not like I'm sleeping with him." And maybe she's not. Maybe it really is just whiskey-fueled friendship. But it doesn't feel respectful. It doesn't feel like something a spouse should dismiss when their partner says it hurts them. So here I am, typing into the void. On one hand, I feel like I have legitimate reasons to be upset. Her history, the hours, the drinking, the secrecy on the other. I wonder if I'm just being insecure and projecting old wounds onto something innocent. I don't know what's reasonable anymore. Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? Or is this the kind of boundary that anyone would be upset about? Stories number 27. The time I shut down a harmless joke and the backyard went silent. Last summer, my family had one of our big backyard barbecues. If you've got a big family, you know the drill. Kids running around with juice boxes, folding chairs set up in a half circle, someone yelling about who touched the potato salad before it was ready. We do this a few times every year at my aunt's house. She and my uncle live in the kind of neighborhood where everyone knows everyone, and their backyard is basically designed for these things: grill, fire pit, plenty of space. It's the one time you can count on cousins you haven't seen in months showing up. So picture this. It's late afternoon. The grill is going, people are chatting, kids are screaming about squirt guns, and everyone is just kind of enjoying that relaxed, lazy vibe that comes with a summer day. My cousin Amanda, 26F, brought her new boyfriend, Tyler, 28M. None of us had met him before, but Amanda had been talking him up for a while. He's funny. He's good with kids. He fits right in with everyone. Well, let's just say he didn't quite land that impression. Tyler is the kind of guy you can spot a mile away. Baseball cap on backwards, Oakley's tucked into the brim, shirt a little too tight around the arms. He gave off that "I'm the funny guy" vibe before he even said anything, which would have been fine if he was funny. Anyway, we're all gathered around near the grill where my Uncle Frank 50cm is flipping burgers and chicken. A couple of us girls, me, Amanda, and my older sister Rachel, 30F. We're standing nearby helping prep plates, slicing tomatoes, organizing buns, that sort of thing. That's when Tyler decided it was his moment. He grinned, leaned back in his chair, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Careful there, don't burn the meat. Women aren't really built for cooking, are they?" Now, you know that sound when a group of people hears something uncomfortable and everyone does that awkward laugh grimace? Like a half smile, half, "Did he really just say that?" Yeah, that swept through the group. Amanda immediately looked. Mortified, Rachel raised an eyebrow and muttered under her breath, "Seriously?" My Uncle Frank just kept flipping burgers, but I could see his jaw tighten a little. Tyler, meanwhile, was looking around like he'd just dropped the funniest punchline of the evening, waiting for the laughs to roll in. And I don't know what it was. Maybe the heat. Maybe the fact that I'd been biting my tongue all day while he made little comments about football, politics, and whatever else. But something in me just snapped. I smiled at him sweetly, tilted my head, and said, "You're right, Tyler. Women aren't built for cooking. We're built for pushing out entire human beings from our bodies. Remind me again what you're built for." "Oh, right. Call of Duty kill streaks and participation trophies." The entire backyard went dead quiet for half a second. Then Rachel lost it. Full belly laugh. My Uncle Frank actually snorted so hard he almost dropped a burger through the grill grates. Even my aunt, who usually plays peacekeeper, was trying to hide a grin behind her solo cup. Tyler, on the other hand, his face went from smug to beet red in about 3 seconds flat. He shifted in his chair, mumbled something like, "Yeah, okay, whatever," and stared down at his plate. Amanda tried to smooth it over, patting his knee and saying, "She's just joking, don't take it personally," but it was clear the damage was done. He spent the rest of the barbecue mostly silent, poking at his baked beans while everyone else carried on. Here's the kicker, though. Later that night, Amanda texted me, "Thanks for that," she wrote. I said, "For what?" She replied, "He's still sulking. I told him he probably shouldn't try stand-up comedy anytime soon." Apparently, he kept going on about how I embarrassed him in front of everyone, and that it wasn't that serious. Amanda told me she actually found it kind of refreshing that someone finally clapped back at him, because he's always making those harmless jokes and expecting people to laugh. And honestly, that's exactly what rubbed me wrong in the first place. It wasn't just one comment, it was this constant little stream of digs throughout the day. Nothing bad enough to call out, but enough to leave this sour taste in the air like earlier. When Rachel was telling a story about her new promotion, Tyler had said, "Wow, they're just handing out management jobs to anyone these days, huh?" Then he laughed like he'd just told the best joke in the world. Rachel had forced a smile. But I could see the annoyance all over her face, or when my Uncle Frank asked if Tyler wanted to help move the cooler, Tyler said, "Nah, wouldn't want to show up the older guys." Again, he thought it was hilarious. No one else did. So when he made that cooking comment, it was like the final straw. If he wanted banter, then fine. I'd give him some banter. And let me tell you, the vibe of the barbecue completely shifted. After that, people loosened up, conversations flowed easier, and Tyler faded into the background. Almost like everyone had been waiting for someone to shut him down. The best part? A week later, Amanda called me to say he's been rethinking his sense of humor. Apparently, he told her he realized he uses sarcasm and cheap shots as a crutch because he's not great at actual conversation. Amanda said he's been sulking less and listening more. Do I think my one comment magically changed his personality? No. But I do think it was the first time someone matched his energy and didn't let him get away with a harmless joke. And honestly, it felt damn good. Stories. Number 28, AITA. If I ask my son and daughter-in-law to contribute a small amount financially for taking in their special needs daughter, my son and his wife have 4 children. The oldest 2, F19, special needs, and M16 live with my husband and me. The younger 2, F9 and M3, live with their parents. Issues started 3 years ago, but it all came to a head last fall. There was an incident. When my DIL had a total and complete psychotic breakdown, I'm talking dangerous, violent breakdown, and she targeted the 2 older ones. We, my husband, son and I, managed to get her the inpatient help she needed at a wonderful facility. She spent several months there, and while she was there, felony charges were brought against her. After her hospital release, she turned herself in. But in the meantime, she was to have NC with her victims. So they're staying with my husband and me, while the kids are with us. My son, their dad, applied for SSI for his special needs daughter and was approved. The money is now starting to come in, but we haven't received even a small amount. My husband and I are on a fixed income. We lived very comfortably when it was just the 2 of us, but there are 4 of us now, and the grocery bill alone is putting a strain on the budget. 15-year-old boys eat quite a lot. Not to mention other unexpected costs, like needing clothes, school activities that they always seem to need money for. Grandson is looking for a PT job after school, but he's struggling academically, so I'm not sure that's a good idea. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I know some of you may think I'm being petty, but please understand, raising children gets expensive for a couple of senior citizens that had not planned on becoming mom and dad at this stage of our lives. We love being grandma and grandpa and want to go back to those roles. The legal stuff should be concluded by the end of this year. Every psychiatrist who has examined my DIL has found she was insane at the time of the incident, and all have said they believe she is not a danger to her children or anyone else. The 2 living with us only wanted their mom to get the help she needed, and she is doing so wonderfully right now. They want to go back home, and I don't blame them. I want that too. So AITA for asking my son and DIL for a small amount of financial help every month until they can move back home. Stories number 29. A heartfelt thank you for ruining my mental health. Enjoy your decorative herpes. A few years ago, I worked for an absolute asshole. I stayed in that job for 6 years, far longer than I really should have, but I kind of needed the job at the time and truly loved what I did. It was a great learning opportunity. As I ended up learning a lot about business above and beyond my original role, I ended up as one of the most senior members of staff. Not bragging. This was a small business, so in reality, what this meant was more work and responsibility for pennies. More pay. Needing this job for some level of financial stability, I did my best to ignore the condescending behavior, bullying, manipulation, micromanaging, guilt-tripping, advantage-taking, etc. All from the boss. They were an absolute delight. Nevertheless, as I was their most competent and trusted employee, there was a terse civility between the 2 of us, although I'm sure they did plenty of bitching about me behind my back, cause they certainly did about everyone else. When I finally resigned, much to their annoyance, but I was literally done at this point, I wanted to inconvenience this POS for the way they'd impacted my mental health. I had to be careful about it though, because taking someone to court over some slight genuinely wasn't beyond them. I'd literally seen them do it, so I opted for the pettiest option I could. At the time, I bought a thank you card and wrote a heartfelt message, thanking the boss for the opportunity. Yada yada yada. Who is going to suspect a thank you card as a fuck you, right? Reddit? When I tell you this card was the glitteriest card money could buy. I am not joking. Think that super fine sand-like glitter that spreads everywhere when you just look at it? The entire design on the front of this card was made in glitter, and the residual glitter from the manufacturing line clung to the inside and back of the card. So much glitter on. My last day, the boss wasn't there because of course they weren't. So I left the card in their office, said goodbye to all of my colleagues who I was genuinely going to miss because they were all great people, and left on my merry way, satisfied that the creative herpes that I had left behind on that desk would have the required effect. I've been out of that place for 2 years, and one of my former colleagues has told me that they're still finding glitter about the place. I take great satisfaction knowing that in some stupid, insignificant way, I have caused that asshole at least a minor annoyance. Stories number 30. AITA. For thinking my MIL staged the dress drama just to one-up me? So here's the tea. I, the DIL-to-be, am getting married in a few months, and everything was going smoothly until my MIL decided she wanted to be part of the process. She insisted on coming to a bridal shop visit with me and my mom. At first, I thought, great, she wants to be included. But the second I put on my dream gown, males suddenly started tearing up and telling everyone loudly, "That looks exactly like the dress I wore at my wedding, but mine had more lace and more sparkle, and honestly, it fit me better too." The whole room went silent. The consultant looked like she wanted to melt into the carpet. My mom gave me that look, and Mael, she just sat there, smiling like she'd won something. Later, she casually suggested she could lend me her old gown instead, because it's practically the same, but more flattering. Now I'm torn. Part of me wants to just ignore her comments and move on. But another part of me feels like this was intentional, like she came just to create drama and make herself the star. So what do you think? Am I overthinking this? And she just had a weird nostalgia moment? Or is this a classic case of Miley trying to reclaim the spotlight? And do I shut it down now? Or let her keep playing dress-up in her head?